Okay, so let me extend another warm welcome from sunny Kingston, Jamaica. We are in fact hosting today from the Kingston Creative Hub in downtown Kingston. And we are delighted to have you in our session this afternoon. This afternoon's session is entitled E-commerce and online sales. We have a really great session in store for you. And as you can see, our facilitator is here. However, before we get into the meat of the matter, I want to take some administrative and housekeeping matters out of the way. I want to start by saying, well, let me introduce myself again. My name is Jackie Pasley, and I am your host in this afternoon's session. The Kingston Creative Group, Fresh Milk, and the American Friends of Jamaica partnered together to bring this really amazing opportunity to creatives across the Caribbean. And the primary objective of this initiative, which is called Catapult, seeks to enable and to facilitate creatives across the region, helping them to have that online space that is so much needed now in our very unusual and uncharted times as a result of COVID. Being able to network, being able to put yourself out there in the digital space, so getting a better understanding of how to navigate that space, so that you can potentially earn more in the online space is primarily the objective of the Catapult project. The Catapult project has 6 initiatives, and the digital creative training is one such initiative. The digital creative training has 6 modules, and the module we'll cover this afternoon, entitled E-commerce and online sales, is one of the 6 modules that is presented in this program. And so a little bit later on, I will share with you the names of some of the other courses that we offer in the program. But for now, we want to welcome you, and we want to have you ready and settled for a great session. If you'll allow me to share my screen just for a few minutes, or just so that we can clearly understand how we are going to be functioning in this afternoon's session. So you might realize, those of you who are new to the session, you might realize that you're not able to speak, and your video has been disabled. And this is so that we can have a smooth running of the afternoon session. However, we so want to hear your questions, we so want to hear your comments, we so want to know what you're thinking. And so what we will do is, in the chat, we will provide that opportunity. So feel free to put all your questions, all your comments in the chat. You can also raise your hand, you will be acknowledged. And there's also a feature that you can also utilize to make your comments known, as well as the questions that you might have. We will take a break, a scheduled break at about 2:30, a 10-minute break for persons to refresh themselves and to give our facilitator a chance to come up for some air before he gets back into the second half of the training. Very, very important to us is your feedback. And so at the end of the session, I will provide a link in the chat that will allow you to access a feedback form that we are asking you to complete. This form gives us information on the things that we are doing right, the things that we may need to brush upon or improve on, as we bring these modules or training sessions to you. So it's very important that you complete this form and give us the much needed feedback that we need. Additionally, a second link will be provided in the chat, and this is to allow you to access the quiz, a short quiz with 10 questions. These questions, we ask that you answer them, and this is just so that we can get a sense of how much you have really understood from the session today. Certificates will be issued depending on whether you do the quiz or not. That may determine the type of certificate that you get. So we want to encourage everybody to get to access that link once it's placed in the chat at the end of the session and complete your quiz. This session is 3 hours long. The facilitator primarily will be speaking. And at the end of the 3-hour session, we will have what I like to refer to as a mini networking event. This is where your mics and your videos will be enabled, and it will give you an opportunity to speak with the facilitator, who will be in the session for a little bit longer. Well, so outside of his 3 hours, he will stay for a short while to so you can engage him on anything that you may deem necessary. As well as you may very well find that there are attendees in the session that you may want to make contact with. So this is a great opportunity for you to reach out to persons in the session. All right. And finally, before I hand over to our facilitator, nobody says training has to be boring. We have had some very engaging, very informative, very exciting and enlightening sessions. I know today promises to be just as good. And so we are going to make our next 3 hours or so lots of fun. At this point, I'm going to hand over to our facilitator, Mr. Leighton Campbell, who will tell you a little bit more about himself and then get into his presentation. Leighton, over to you.
All right, thanks for that, Jackie. And let me just bring up my screen and then get into a little bit about who I am, type of work I've been doing, and a little bit about myself as well. Jackie, can you let me know when you guys are able to see my screen?
Yes,
And
we can see your
also,
screen. Great, and you are on slideshow. Great.
awesome, awesome. All right, guys. So as Jackie said, we want today to be a very interactive session. Um, the matter of e-commerce is one that has come at the forefront of many conversations, many lips of executives, entrepreneurs, and business owners because of what has been happening in COVID. And a little bit about me, as I am Leighton Campbell, CEO of Mobile Edge Solutions. We're actually a innovative software firm that specializes in providing e-commerce and mobile communication services that enable businesses, entrepreneurs, startups, large companies, whatever entity it is that you are. We enable you to be able to service your customers anywhere, anytime. A major part of servicing your customers anywhere, anytime includes or revolves around really selling to these customers. And we have been doing this as Mobile Edge since 2016. I have been working in mobile and digital communication since 2010. So I have approximately 10 years experience in doing what I currently do. I have worked with, of course, I'm from Jamaica, as you will realize from the accent. I've worked with startups, entrepreneurs, small businesses, medium-sized, large businesses, the largest corporations locally, including the largest banks, distribution, manufacturing companies. And these initiatives that I work with them on are generally around how is it that they can digitize their operations to be able to service their customers wherever they are. On today's session, we'll be spending 3 hours delving into e-commerce, demystifying it, and as the title says, demystifying e-commerce, things you need to know to successfully move your business online. And at the end of every, I've broken down a number of topics here, as you will see on our screen. These are topics that we'll be going through, and I'll be fielding questions after every section that I cover. Guys, feel free to ask as many questions as possible. I know that this space is new to a lot of persons, and there's a lot to be understood about it. Since COVID, I have, unlike most persons who have managed to get some amount of break, I have been utterly overworked during this period because of the number of companies that are coming to us to try to figure out how is it that they can really leverage the online space. Sometimes doing up to 6, 7 consultations per day. So a lot of persons have been really investing time in trying to pick my brain about, how is it that they can leverage this tool to benefit their business, to transform their business, to survive COVID. So I encourage you all to take this opportunity to get as much information out of me as possible. I like to tell persons all the time, I love to educate persons because driving that awareness helps persons to make better decisions. So take advantage of the resources you have in front of you now, and feel free to field any question that you would deem fit. One of the things I would like for you guys to do with persons who are on this call now is to just drop in the chat the industries that you're from and also the countries that you're from, so that when I'm going through some of the examples, I can make it relatable to your industry and also to your country. Because one of the things about e-commerce is that as much as the concepts are global, the context within which the company operates is very specific, and every company is different. Every country is also different in terms of the resources that they can tap into. So please feel free to just drop those industries and countries in the chat so we can get an early indication as to the persons who we have with us here today. As I mentioned, these are the topics that we will be going through, which covers what is e-commerce, how does it work, why do businesses need it, and covering approximately 10 things that persons need to know to move their business online in the areas of structuring your e-commerce approach, generating sales, and automating the business. Now, what is e-commerce? A lot of times persons think about e-commerce, think about us collecting credit card payments online. But it's far more than that. E-commerce is really the buying and selling of goods or services using the internet, along with the transfer of money and data to execute these transactions. And what does this mean? A lot of time persons will be selling a product or a service, and they may choose to go on Instagram, list their product, and tell persons to DM them for more information, or they may set up a website to advertise their products and services, allow persons to submit their orders, complete orders, and submit them. Other forms of online commerce will include not only social media selling, but also even a simple landing page that offers your services and allow persons to engage with you. So when you think about an e-commerce model, don't only think about credit card transactions online. It's a lot more than that. I'll give you a simple example of Mobile Edge Solutions. Mobile Edge, as we mentioned before, is a software company, and we sell digital products and services. And what we found is that majority of persons, when they're looking for a solution that we offer, first place they tend to turn is online. Now, as it is right now, we actually don't allow persons to actually complete the entire purchasing process on our website. However, we actually allow persons to be able to inquire, fill out forms, state that they're interested in a particular service. Whenever we provide a service, of course, we facilitate digital payment methods, whether it's that you're able to do a bank transfer to us or make credit card payments. And these are some of the things that different persons may choose to do when executing an e-commerce strategy. When executing an e-commerce strategy, you have to think about also yourself, your business. What are the resources that the business has or is able to take advantage of to be able to do the business with persons wherever they are? And these are some of the things that we'll be covering today as part of this exercise and so forth, right? So as I said, e-commerce is not only about just collecting credit card payments online, but more so, how is it that you're able to exchange goods and services for cash or otherwise, for the business to make sense. Now, how does e-commerce typically work? It really is not much different from how a physical business works offline. E-commerce really is about a customer searching for whatever product or service they are looking for. In some cases, persons may turn to their yellow pages and to find a business and call them to say, hey, sir, do you have such and such? It's the same thing as when a customer goes onto your website or does a Google search, finds your business, identifies the product or service that they're interested in so that they can express interest, which takes you to the next stage, which is making an actual order. So just like when you walk into, you have identified that, or let's use the example of a hardware store, a Home Depot store. You walk into your Home Depot store and you're evaluating which piece of furniture or so it is suitable to you, and you've identified that, okay, this one is the one that I want to work with. Then you go, what's the next thing you're gonna do? You're gonna want to make an order. You're gonna want to make a payment. You're gonna want to say to somebody, hey, I want that thing over there. It's the same thing again with online. Person has navigated to your website. Now that you've identified the product or service that you're interested in, the next step is to actually submit an order. Now, after your order is submitted, again, taking it back offline to the person who you have submitted your order to, then they then now need to probably go to the back room and write up some slips and some some um some documents that allow them to release whatever goods or service, provide a receipt to you, those types of things. That's typically processing an order. It's the same thing again with e-commerce. Somebody submits an order online. It's now up to the administrative team running the business in the back end to then support that ordering process by documenting whatever needs to happen to fulfill the order, which of course takes us to the next step of actually providing whatever goods or services was requested by the customer. And again, it's the same thing offline. Typically, for order fulfillment, you're looking at delivery. Some of the times, persons may choose to order online and come and pick up. So these are some of the examples of order fulfillment, and that pretty much is a roundabout process. Again, it is no much different from your physical sales process that a customer would typically go through. The only difference really here is that you're doing the same online, right? So the process is, of course, customer searches for whatever product or service you offer. They submit an order. The order is processed, and then it is now up to your team to fulfill that particular order. Now, why do companies need e-commerce? That's a question that persons ask themselves all the time. Before COVID, persons used to struggle with the idea of, why should I adopt an e-commerce strategy? And you'd find that most times it's the more forward-thinking companies, the innovators, the persons who operate in very competitive industries and environments would have normally been thinking like this. However, COVID has forced every Jackman and Jill to think about what it is that is necessary to keep their business going. Companies are customers are at home, and at the beginning of COVID, I was doing a lot of interviews. One of the points I had to stress to persons was that it's not an apocalypse. Persons have not disappeared from Earth. They're just timid about coming out of their homes because nobody wants to catch COVID. Nobody wants to spread COVID. So the question then becomes, you know, why would I adapt an e-commerce strategy in this context? And the idea behind this is for two reasons. Firstly, e-commerce enables you to further penetrate any existing market that you're in. So let's use the example of your office being in the Americas, specifically in North America. You have a physical business location that enables you to service persons in your geographical location. However, e-commerce enables you to further penetrate that existing market in a stronger way. So if it is that you're actually able to reach 100 persons per day or per week, you are able to multiply that tenfold or more with e-commerce, especially being that when you think about an e-commerce strategy, you're thinking about a automated way of generating your orders, a streamlined way of processing and servicing those customers. So as opposed to a physical location that requires staff members to physically service each customer individually, with e-commerce, you're able to service more customers at a faster rate as well. And also, you're able to service a wider base of customers within that existing geographical location. So, in essence, in the example of this graphic that you're seeing on the screen, a company in the Americas could easily expand rapidly within that same space using e-commerce or online selling strategies. Reason number two is to enter new markets. And again, it comes down to that geographical limit that a physical business has. When you adopt an e-commerce strategy, you're not only able to service more customers within your current geographical location, but you're also able to enter new markets without physically going there. And that's one of the beauties about e-commerce. And when I started to get more into e-commerce, at the time, e-commerce was pretty new in our region. Of course, it was heavily practiced in the US, in the first world countries. But when I went into it, I said that, boy, I was already in the mobile space. I realized the level of mobile penetration that existed in our markets, over 100%. Why is it that we can't allow persons to do business with customers through their phones or with companies through their phones? And that is where we actually started to look at adapting e-commerce strategies. And one of the beauties about it, and we have benefited from that as a company, because as Mobile Edge, we service customers not only in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, North Americas, Europe, even as far as places like in Russia and so forth. So with adapting these strategies, you're actually able to go places that your business can't. So I like to tell a person that e-commerce gives your business legs, allows you to go where you physically are not, allows you to service demographics that you would not have been readily able to service, and you're able to penetrate and enter markets as you see fit. Beautiful thing about e-commerce as well is that you're able to test markets far more rapidly and to ascertain whether or not it makes sense to invest further in a particular market. In some cases, companies even use it as market research before entering fully into a market. So these are two of the main reasons why persons would typically adapt e-commerce strategies. And in the current context, it has become a necessity, especially in products and services that are geared towards everyday users, because we call them essential services. So things like food, health, money, all of these industries are needing e-commerce to survive. And I'm finding as well that even consultants, persons who a lot of face-to-face meetings, are now trying to move their business online so that they can service their customers in the same way that they would in person. So instead of having a physical meeting, they're having a Zoom meeting, you know, but they want to be able to collect their payments maybe before they have that sit down with that customer. So different industries are approaching e-commerce in a number of different ways. And it's really up to your creativity to determine what's the way that best suits you. And whilst I go through these topics, one of the things that one of the main outcomes for this session is that at the end of it, you should be able to clearly identify what are some of the things that you need to consider when moving your business online, especially if you want to do it successfully. Right? Now, before I get into the 10 things that you need to know, I would just love to check to see if there are any questions so far from the audience.
Not really questions, but just a couple of comments. Persons are sharing where they're from and their area of
Could you
speciality.
call out some folks for me, Jackie?
Sure, absolutely. So let me make sure I don't miss anybody. So let me scroll back up to the top here. So Jade, let me see if there's anybody before Jade. Okay, so Miguel is a visual art and creative writer from Suriname. Miguel, I just want to tell you that we're going to be doing the session in Dutch as well. So you want to look out for those. Ingrid is in Jamaica. She's in visual arts. Coming down now. So Roy, I hope I'm not mispronouncing there, is an author of how to invest on the JSE. So very interesting to note there. And Jada, she says she's operating within the fashion industry in Jamaica, and she owns. For fear of mispronouncing this, I don't think I want to say it out aloud. When she's able to speak a little later on, then I'll give her an opportunity to say the name. It looks like J Shy Designs. Hope I got that right. We also have someone here, Joan from Brooklyn, New York. We're happy to have you. So welcome. And Olivia says that, of course, she's looking for a great session. I know she went to the session yesterday. Clearly whet her appetite enough to have her come back today. She primarily works in graphic design and fine art. She is from St. Vincent, but currently in Barbados. And Natasha, she's a stage manager from Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome, Natasha. And Lisa says, I'm attending from Grand Bahamas. So very good, in the Bahamas. Ceramic and maker of handmade cultural gifts is what she does. Primarily, she sells via combination of art exhibitions and a brick and mortar location. And the goal now is to expand to online. So you're definitely in the right session. Here, we also have Givo. Oh Lord, help me. Who is a graphic designer and a jewelry maker and fine art. He's from that person is from Barbados. Welcome. And my business is putting my clothing design on the internet. So Joan says, she says her business is to put her clothing design on internet. And Kay she also is into artwork and craft as well. And Judith, who is right here in Jamaica, says she's a visual artist. So thank you for those comments. Dwayne says he's from Jamaica. He's a recording artist and an audio engineer, also a chef and a farmer. So multifaceted. Dwayne is in the house as well. And just checking if there's anything in Q&A. No, nothing at this point. So you can continue, Leighton.
All right, awesome. So I'm seeing here where we have persons from the Caribbean, Suriname, Americas, and that seems to cover it. And in terms of the industries, I'm hearing arts, fashion, consulting services, as well as graphic design services. All right, so I will try to keep some of my examples towards some of these industries and so forth. All right, so that's some good
Or
information. All right,
just
guys.
before you get back into it though,
Sure.
Leighton. Floyd wants to know, how he can leverage e-commerce in a local auto parts and accessories field as well. So
Local
just want
auto
to add that
parts.
to the mix.
Okay. Okay. All
Yes.
right.
All right.
That's
Good.
fine. No problem. No problem. So we have parts as well. All right. That's good. So we have a good mix of industries and also countries to give some examples of how things will work for different persons. And again, guys, as we go through, we'll be having questions. We'll be going very deep into a number of these things. So feel free to air your questions. Again, as I said, we're going to be taking, we'll be fielding questions after each section. So feel free to drop those questions in. All right. All right. Things you need to know to move your business online. Now, one of the first things that persons typically think about when they're moving their business online is that, hey, I need to get a website done. How much to get a website? And that for us is normally the first mistake that I would say persons make. First thing that you typically need to think about, guys, before getting into building your website, building any type of e-commerce infrastructure, is understanding the e-commerce approach that works for your type of industry, your type of business, also based on your set of resources as well, right? So we'll be going through some of these in this section. Now, in terms of the e-commerce business models, one of the things to consider here is what type of business model works for your business. A lot of us are in the business to consumer section. So for those who are selling jewelry, those who are selling arts, are typically selling mainly directly to their consumers. Then of course you have the B2B model like Mobile Edge, like the graphic designer who may be working for a business, because those are persons who tend to hire graphic designers. um, those persons are the B2B guys. So you have to think about again your e-commerce model within that context. Then you have the customer to business model, which is where a customer will sell directly to a business. An example of this would be something like, let's use an example of a JPS, which is Jamaica Public Service Company, the company in Jamaica that is responsible for selling electricity power. One of the things that they will do is that they will tell persons that, hey, if you actually have solar panels at home and you are producing more electricity than you actually need, you can sell that electricity back to us. That's an example. Another example of C2B is, for instance, let's use an example of Pepsi or Red Stripe, who sells their alcoholic beverages in bottles. Oftentimes they will ask their customers to sell them back the bottles to lower their costs. So these are C2B examples that persons can emulate. Also, there is customer to customer examples, which is normally um, done within oftentimes a marketplace type environment where you are both a customer, a buyer and a seller of a particular product or service. I think one good example of that would be like the freelance environments like Upwork, Fiverr. I will buy from you, you buy from me. It's kind of the same type of setup. Also, again, direct to consumer would be in the case of um, a, 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 a manufacturing company. Manufacturing companies normally sell their products to retailers, and then the retailers sell directly to the consumer. Some manufacturing companies cut out the middleman and goes directly to the consumer to get more margins on their sale. Then there is white labeling and private label. Now these are some new concepts that are coming to market. And what exactly is this? In the industry of manufacturing, some persons will choose to say, all right, so you are making this product. And let's use the example of a shirt, right? They may say, all right, I want you to manufacture 100,000 shirts for me, but I want you to put my logo on those shirts, right? And they will repackage that entire thing and provide it back to their customers, literally just buying, selling, and providing it back. And then you have the private label, which goes more into a manufacturing agreement where you actually contract somebody specifically to make certain types of products for you to sell them back to your customers. So that's what a private label is. I've seen a number of persons in the hair industry adopt either of both strategies, where they may say, all right, I'm coming out with my own brand of hair, and they will contract a company out of China to make the hair, put on their own branding, package it, every single thing, and then they sell it back to their customers and have that being delivered, right? And then, of course, you have wholesaling where you sell your products in bulk as opposed to selling, allowing persons to purchase singularly. You would have seen these on things like eBay, Amazon, especially AliExpress is a major wholesaling. Well, not AliExpress, but Alibaba is a wholesaling company. AliExpress is the retail arm of that allows you to buy single items, but you cannot buy one item of anything on Alibaba. You know, drop shipping is another new method that a lot of persons are embarking on, and it works well with the private label and the white label concept as well, because persons are able to actually sell goods that they have not actually stocked. So in a sense, I know that there's a company in Japan or China that sells good quality hair. Instead of spending, say, 1,000 or 10,000 US to buy here, bring it to my local destination, sell it, and then ship it. What I would do is that I would get the pricing for that product offline. I would then mark it up, resell it on my platform, and then when persons buy from me, it is automatically shipped from the manufacturer directly to that individual. So I don't get into investing large sums of money to build out inventory, nor do I get in the business of fulfilling the orders to the customers. So you find a lot of companies are in the business of drop shipping, and some of the time you can easily identify them by the amount of time that they will say it takes to ship. So if, let's say, for instance, you have a local provider in your current market selling a product, and you ask them, how long does it take for me to get the goods or service? And they say, boy, it's going to take you about 2 weeks, or 3 weeks or a month. Then you know that more than likely this individual is buying from another source and bring it in and sell it to you. They're not actually stocking that product individually. So these are the models, the common models that are being used in the industry. Most persons will fall within the B2C or the B2B sections, but it's important to understand what the others can do, because at the end of the day, in business, is not what you do, but how you do it, right? Now, the next thing that I love to emphasize upon persons or impress upon them is that, again, before going into building out your e-commerce systems, it is important to ensure that your online operations are matching your offline operations. And why is this important? If I am running, let's say for argument's sake, I'm making jewelry, right? And I am selling to my customers. If I am selling the jewelry offline for $500, and then when persons go online, they see it for $1,000, it creates confusion. Next thing is, if I am making the jewelry and communicating certain features offline, then I should be doing the same thing online. And more importantly, the fulfillment of the orders needs to be done again in the same way. So one of the things that I tell persons oftentimes, they tend to dream up a lot of big ideas. When persons are going online all the time, they think that, hey, we're going to come with this innovative new website that will do this, that, and that. And oftentimes, this, that, and that is really not needed. What they needed to do was to keep the approach very simple, just like how their business operates, and try to model the offline version online. Why is this important? Because if you're not doing that, then you will end up running two businesses, two versions of the same business, which one gives you more work, two confuses the customer, and three is just inefficient, an inefficient way of operating. So whenever you are looking at your e-commerce model, one of the key things to remember, guys, is that model your online business in the same way that you would offline. I'm going to use the example of a restaurant here because we all can connect with buying food from a restaurant, whether it is that we are sit dining in or doing takeout. And when you go to a restaurant, the first thing that you want to see is the menu. As such, when you're building a website for a restaurant, shouldn't it be natural that the first thing that you show on that website, or one of the early things that you display on the website, is the menu of items that the person can buy? It only makes sense. And then for the person who wants to book a table or book a reservation, then again, those persons will typically be calling in to find out information about availabilities. This can also be replicated online as part of that. Again, matching your offline operations online, right? And then typically for a restaurant, outside of booking a reservation, ordering something from the menu, you want to know basic things about them. How can I reach you? Where are you? What are your opening hours? So this is exactly what I mean by, matching your offline operations with your online execution, because you want to run the same business in both spheres. And what I encourage persons to do is that when you're building out an e-commerce component of your business, don't see it as an online version per se, but more so try to approach it from the purpose of it's one business. You just have different methods of interacting with the business. So you have your physical branch and you have your virtual branch. And a customer interacting with your physical branch or your virtual branch should not really see a major difference really in one, the quality of the product or service you're offering, two, the experience of dealing with you as a business. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to somebody's website, and when I go on the website, I can't find what I'm looking for. Nothing else frustrates me more than that. Basic information. How can I reach you? What are you selling and how can I reach you? If you have a website with something with those key information, then again, you're not really positioning yourself to operate in that particular way. And this brings me to the next section, which focuses on setting up your website or your e-commerce approach to sell. The only purpose for e-commerce, guys, is to activate sales. So if it is that you build out an e-commerce or online sales component of your business that is not selling, then you would have defeated the entire purpose of doing so. The typical e-commerce online selling models that exist within e-commerce is typically signing up persons online, accepting orders online, accepting bookings online, or allowing persons to request a quotation. And again, when you think about an offline business, it's pretty much the same. And I'll give you some examples here. So for instance, a school would typically want to sign up persons, right? It's the same thing you're going to be doing online. You can't do it any different, because that's exactly how this particular industry works offline. Similarly, again, if it is that you're selling a particular product, you're selling your jewelry, you're selling things that you make with your hand, you're selling something physical, even if it's digital, it's the same thing again. You're going to need a store to showcase your products, facilitate orders, and so forth. So pretty much again, this is the same thing. Bookings, a service provider who is selling their time or requires persons to actually make a booking to be able to access the product or service that they're offering, then again, you're going to want to adapt a booking model for your e-commerce approach. So these are some of the things that I mean when I say that it's important to do that. Requesting a quotation. Why do a person request a quotation? Generally, a quotation is needed when maybe you need to get some information from the customer first to give them pricing. So maybe you want to build a house. Maybe you want to get a graphic design done. A graphic designer will typically provide a quotation to a customer for rendering service. So you could actually use your e-commerce approach to focus mainly on generating quotation requests from your customers. Give an example. We did some work for a customer who is operating within the hotel and tourism industry, and they wanted the ability to provide services to brides who are getting married, and they wanted to pretty much offer events, catering, and so forth. And they contracted us to build out an entire quotation system, very elaborate quotation system that allowed the customer to go through a very seamless process of indicating exactly what it is that they want for their event, what they wanted for food, what kind of hotel conference room they wanted to book, how many coffee breaks. These are some of the things that person would include in something like that. They were able to collect that information on the back end and then provide three quotations to the customer thereafter for them to approve one. So the same can be done once it is that you have a service that you offer that does not have a very clear pricing model or a basic pricing model, or requires you to put together a quotation for the customer. Mobile it is like this as well. We have to provide a quotation generally for the services that we offer outside of our systems. Once is that you require us to build something for you, we first need to understand, all right, what are the things that need to go into this thing? So we need to generate a quotation to request such. So again, it's the same concept. You want to operate online in the same way that you do offline. Do we have any questions before I jump into choosing your platforms? No questions as yet. All right, no problem. We will continue until then.
No.
Yes? No?
Yeah, just check to the chat. There's nothing there.
All right, awesome. All right, so choosing your platforms. Now, this is where after you've figured out your e-commerce model, you have figured out, how are you going to sell? Now you need to figure out what kind of platform do I need to sell this thing? Do I need to put it on a marketplace? Do I need to have my own e-commerce website? If I need my own e-commerce website, what's the best model for me? And this is where we help to guide customers based on their resources, based on what it is that they're trying to achieve, and also how they want to scale. Now, these three options represent three different things. The W I will touch last. So let me actually start with the shopping bag with the S. This is Shopify's icon. And Shopify is an e-commerce solution out the box that allows anybody to pretty much go online and create a website for themselves. If you have the skill sets and the technical expertise, for some persons it's far easier than others. But it allows you to create your own version of an online system. However, the thing with Shopify is that Shopify charges you a monthly fee for using their solutions. And the more things you want to get out of Shopify is the more that monthly fee increases. Also, Shopify, think about Shopify like Apple products. It's very exclusive, meaning that you're only able to use Shopify tools on Shopify. It's not that you're able to do a lot of external integrations or build out as you feel like. You're limited to what the platform can offer, and you're also limited to their pricing structure. So that's an example of Shopify. Now, down the bottom, we have a computer with some tools. That represents persons who want to build a custom website. A lot of persons nowadays are looking to India, Pakistan, and even some European countries to outsource development of their websites, thinking that, hey, I'm going to these very smart guys, and these guys are going to give me the greatest solution ever. However, oftentimes those solutions are, because they're custom built, there's no standard by which they are built. So if it is that somebody else should take over your project, it becomes difficult for that individual to understand how this person came about building this solution. And whilst you are able to do anything you feel like in any way, there are some challenges with scaling thereafter. So the benefit of going with a custom solution is that you're able to get full control over your build. You're able to include any feature that you need as needed. However, generally you find that the custom build is far more expensive, and scaling the solution is far more expensive as well than a Shopify. So Shopify gives you a cheap startup, but doesn't give you a lot of control and ability to scale, whilst custom developments tend to be far more expensive. You get exactly what you want. You have full control over your project, but the expense and the consistency in how the solution is built out can become challenging when you want to scale. Now, the section over on the left with the W, that stands for WordPress. WordPress now is a open source platform that allows any website developer from anywhere in the world to build out structured websites in a highly scalable way at a fraction of the cost for a custom developed website. So with this approach, you get the best of both worlds. You're able to build the websites faster than if it was done in a custom way. You're able to do it cheaper than if it was done in a custom way. You're able to have the same, almost the same amount of control as if you were building a custom solution. And even if you don't have the same amount of control, you can customize your build to anything, you know. So maybe out the box, the templates that you may get from WordPress may not offer this or offer that, but a developer can definitely add additional features as you need. So with WordPress, you get the best of both worlds, and that's the platform that we recommend to all when it comes to building these solutions. Why as well? Think about WordPress like Android. Android is an open source platform, and because of that, you have far more mobile apps for Android versus iOS. Um, you also find that Android apps and phones are far cheaper than iOS. So it's kind of the same, you know, where that is concerned. So because of that, there's almost an app for everything. So you find that when you build an e-commerce website, I'll give you an example to can make it very relatable. Let's use an example of a wholesaler from the wholesaling business model that we covered earlier. Let's say a wholesaler builds an e-commerce website, and initially he got a very basic website to just sell his products. And he said, hey, Leighton, I want to actually have persons only submit orders if the quantity is at least 100 products. Then it's just a simple matter of plugging on an app to that system that indicates that, hey, you know, the minimum order on this platform should be 100 products. So there's an app for everything. A lot of it is plug and play. So the weeks that it would take to build a custom solution, you're able to plug and play and configure all of that within hours or days, you know. So you definitely benefit from the speed of doing such. So when it comes to building platforms, we personally prefer WordPress, but we do understand that there are also many persons out there who like to do it themselves. And if you like to do it yourself, then maybe Shopify is a better option for you also, because you're able to build out at a cheaper rate, you know. But again, when you're thinking about your business, you can't only think about what you're doing today, but you have to think about tomorrow. And that is why we encourage persons to consider WordPress at all times when you are building. Also, when you're speaking to your website developers, when you're speaking to any technology person about e-commerce and building out infrastructure to support online sales, you need to be asking them about the type of platforms and technologies that they will be using to activate such. All right, so that covers knowing your approach. And I'll just quickly ask again if there are any questions where that is concerned, because we did go over some quite technical stuff just now. If you have any questions, you can ask them before we get into generating online sales.
Hi, Lynn. You must be crystal clear because there are no questions currently.
All right, no problem, no
Okay,
problem.
good,
So
good.
let's proceed to generating online sales. Now, one of the key things to generating online sales is, you know, how do you present your business and its products to your potential customers? One of the things that persons oftentimes come to me about is that, Leighton, I have this website, so I'm not quite getting any bite. I'm not getting any sales. Nobody is buying, you know. Um, One of the key things to selling online is that, you know, you have to keep in mind that selling online is not like selling in person. Whilst it kind of also can be, it's quite different, meaning that an in-person sales requires an in-person, personal interactions with individuals where, somebody may visit a store, you may have some conversations with them about whatever it is that you want to buy. Some of the times persons want to touch the product, feel the material, especially in the fashion world, in the jewelry world. They want to say, hey, is this of good quality? Is the sheen as is it as shiny as it is supposed to be, these are some of the hurdles that online sellers need to overcome when they're selling their products and services. So when I'm reviewing a customer's website who has come to me and said, boy, Leighton, I've set up this website and I'm not getting the bite or the sale that I expect from it. And the first thing I will do is look at the quality of the website, how it is built. Is the website attractive? Would I buy from this website if I found them online? So you have to also ask yourself that same question. Would you buy from yourself if you found your website online? Also, navigate to some of your competitors' websites. See if you would buy from them over yourself. And be honest with yourself. If the answer is yes, then definitely your website needs some work. So just like in the offline space, you will notice that persons spend a quite sizable investment in determining how their storefront looks. Right now I'm in Kingston Creative, and when I entered, I had to come to a restaurant that has a quite nice layout, and I went down there to get some water, and I was just kind of curious about what the lunch prices were, since I'm already here at this location. And I will tell you flat out that the prices matched the presentation of that place. And the long and short of it is that the place looks quite nice, right? So the prices are not the regular cook shop prices and so forth, as much as it is downtown. Why? Because these guys have put some effort behind how they present themselves. What you'll find as well is that based on how you present yourself, you're able to depict a certain quality that you can manage. This is where the expectation needs to be managed of your customer. I will give an example. Um, I'll use the example of a fitness expert that I have worked with. And I remember this was one of the persons that I worked with very early in doing website development. And this individual had no physical location where they operated from. They were operating on the University of the West Indies campus in a section near to the student union that had an open field, and he would ask persons to come and meet him there for afternoon sessions for training. And when we built his website, we did an entire photo shoot. We collected a lot of content, helped him to mold the content and the sales message behind all of that. And by adapting an e-commerce website that truly represented the quality of his brand, he was able to one charge more for his services, because persons started taking him more seriously. Persons did, like the under the tree mechanic, as opposed to going into your dealer to get service. It's kind of the same kind of concept, you know, where because he was able to present himself better, he started to attract more clientele. He also was able to charge more, and it just overall lifted his own confidence in his business, and also his customers' confidence in him because of how he presented himself. I also had the same experience with Mobile Edge. My own website has been redone at least probably 5 times. to 6, 7 times already, if not more. And a big part of this is because when we were coming into this space, we were pretty young. We were doing only a few technology solutions at the time, and we wanted to start appealing to larger companies who we could charge a certain amount of money based on our growth projections and our sales targets. And we definitely had to lift the image of the business through the website. And why was this important? Because the reality is that majority of our customers hardly ever came to see us face to face. We were either going to the customers to meet them at their locations, or we were doing online meetings. So we're doing online meetings far before Zoom, before the pandemic and so forth. So even though it's just recently I actually got a Zoom account because I've always been using Google Meet from ever since. And by being able to clearly present our offerings, also being able to depict a technology business, because if it is that you are a arts business, you need to look artsy. You can't look too stiff. And so these are some of the things I have to consider. Now, other than how you present yourself, there needs to be a clearly defined path to sale for you and for the customer. Again, remember that there's nobody on the website saying, "Hey, come over here. We have jewelry for sale over here, or we have graphic designs for sale over here." You know. So when you're building your website, you have to have very strong call to actions. And your call to actions act as those persons who do the call outs typically. If you think about walking downtown in Kingston near the market, you will typically see persons being very animated in how they attract attention to their stores or to their business location. And it's pretty much the same thing on your website. And I'll give this is an example of our own website, Mobile Ed's website. And you will notice here that there's very clear communication to the customer on what is that we offer. But more so, we have strong call to actions that we know persons will draw persons in. And why is this important? Because when a customer lands on your website, they need to know what's next. So, all right, so I have found a company that seems to offer what I want. What's next? For us, Mobile Edge, we know that the next thing that a customer either wants to know is how much does it cost? Maybe they have questions, so we offer free consultation for persons to book those consultations. Or some persons don't want to fill out any form. Some persons just want to pick up the phone and call somebody. So of course we have our contact us sections at the bottom. And this is extremely important for generating a certain throughput rate or conversion rate of persons who land on your particular website, as opposed to those who land on your website and actually spend some time or actually take a particular action, as opposed to those who just land on the website and leave. Because again, if there's no clear path to sale, if the customer is not aware of what's next, how do I get in touch with you? How do I acquire services? These are things that you need to address online, not only in information, but also very strong call to actions that are visible. I remember doing a website for one of our customers. I won't name them, but when we were looking at their old website, no, this is a bank that offers online banking, and you would have spent probably 10-15 minutes on that website just trying to find how do I access online banking. Such a major function of a website for a bank. Those things should be clearly and prominently placed on your website. So when you're working with your developers, or when you're working with any system whatsoever that is customer interfacing, keep in mind that people are very simple, and for things that they don't understand, they prefer to abandon it, go somewhere else, than to spend time trying to figure it out, unless it is that you operate in an industry where you don't have a lot of competition, or maybe it is that whatever you offer is very cheap or very attractive to the customer. Not a lot of us are fortunate enough to have that luxury. So it is very important for us to streamline that process for the customer in a way that makes sense for them, right? Now executing the sale. So it's not enough just to have a website with clear call to actions, but how is it that you actually generate and execute a sale online? This is where your e-commerce systems come into play. This is where your shopping cart systems come into play. This is where your booking systems come into play. This is where your quotation systems come into play. Because these are the things that actually execute the sale. So let's use the example of shopping on Amazon. So you have browsed on Amazon, you have found the products that you like and you have added them to cart. Or rather, you have found the products that you like and know you want to order, you want to purchase. It's the e-commerce system behind Amazon's website that actually allows you to add the products to cart, maybe save it on a wish list, or or maybe save it again as for a later date for purchase. But generally, you need some kind of system to manage the sale execution online. And a sale is not completed until an order is made and payment is collected, or payment instructions are at least given to the customer. Because again, guys, keep in mind that executing the sale does not mean that you only have to use credit card payment. And I'll go into that deeper when I get into payment options, which is a major challenge for a lot of Caribbean persons. But executing the sale generally requires having some type of system in place. So this is an example of a back-end ordering system for one of the types of systems that we typically build out for our customers. And as you see here, you can see orders being captured, order number, person's name, the date and time of the order, status of the order, whether it is completed, expired, the total amount for the order, and necessary actions to be taken. For an e-commerce approach to work, you need some kind of system that executes the sale. In some instances, executing the sale can happen on the website. So for instance, for those persons who are selling their jewelry, their physically made products, for that person who is selling auto parts, they definitely want to have an e-commerce system as part of that. But also, you can take the sales execution offline, like Mobile Edge, who will use QuickBooks to generate an invoice into the customer and allow them to make payment. However, that process needs to be streamlined in one way or another, beginning from the customer interacting with your website. You need to bring them to that point of sale. And that is why it is very important to clearly define your customer's journey, your customer's path to sale, whenever you are executing an e-commerce strategy like this, right? Now, collecting money. This is the number one pain point for e-commerce in Jamaica. There are a number of challenges that Caribbean countries need to overcome for us to maximize on the e-commerce opportunity. One of them is increased internet penetration. Others is literacy, and the other which is actual payment solutions that allow persons to collect credit card payments online. Uh, as you may notice, MasterCard and Visa are extremely active in our market over the last 2 to 5 years, where almost any financial institution, they're trying to power them with cards, whether it be credit cards or prepaid cards, where you can load on the credit onto it and go online and make purchases and so forth. And collecting credit card payments is definitely one of the things that you need to consider. But credit card is not the only payment option, and this is where we have to be realistic with our market and the resources that are available within the market for us to execute the sales that we need to execute. And when I am setting up a website for a customer, I will tell them all the times, I like to include at least 3 options, and that is if your business supports those options. In COVID, less persons are using cash. So because of that, some person may opt to use 2. But we generally introduce at least 3 options. I've seen customers introduce up to 4 or 5 payment options to their customers. And why is it important to offer as many payment options as possible? The reality is that a sale is not closed until payment is collected. You cannot ship a good or provide a service to your customer if you cannot figure out how to get paid. Getting paid is not only actually charging a credit card online, but actually receiving the funds in your hands, you know. So that's one of the things that you definitely need to consider when doing your payments. Now, these are some of the payment options that we typically enable when customers are collecting payments online. This includes cash on delivery. So somebody goes on the website, they complete the ordering process. So they add the product to cart, they check out, and when they're checking out, they have the option to select to pay cash on delivery, pay by a bank transfer, pay by check, or pay by credit card. And if somebody selects cash on delivery, then of course, you now need to figure out, all right, so how am I going to collect my money from this person if I'm not the one doing the delivery? Is my bearer going to collect the cash from this individual when they drop off the painting? Or is it that I'm going to have somebody from my team who actually drops off these things and collect payments? You have to think about these logistics and who you trust with your money and so forth. So cash on delivery works whenever it is that you have the ability to actually send products to customers via a medium that you trust to collect payments from those customers. Many times as entrepreneurs, we have to be the head cook and bottle washers. So we will sometimes do our own delivery, and in that case, it is fine to offer cash on delivery because you can't trust anybody more than yourself. um, but that's definitely one option that persons would take, and persons oftentimes use these options mainly because, again, not everybody has a credit card, and you want to maximize on the sale. The more payment options you have available on your website, the more likely that persons will shop with you. Right? Bank transfer is another option that a lot of persons will use. The bank transfer option, typically when the person is checking out again from the website, then you give the person a payment instruction, and these things can be automated. So it's not to say that, all right, you're going to run through a system and say, all right, who selected bank transfer again? I need to send them the banking details. No. All of these things can be customized in the system to say that, all right, when the person completes a purchase and have selected bank transfer option, send the customer an email with these payment instructions, or on the checkout page when the person has finalized the purchase, present these payment instructions to them, which you typically say, please make payments to this bank, this account number, this name, such and such, savings account, currency, stuff like that. You typically cover as part of the bank transfer option. Checks is pretty much the same thing. Again, you want to let them know, give them a payment instruction, who to write the check to, what's the amount, and maybe how to deliver the check, where to deliver the check, as a location to drop it off. And then you have credit card payments, which is one of the preferred options these days for payment collection. Why is this so? Because when you collect the credit card payment at the point of purchase, then you actually close the sales process in that one transaction. When you collect cash on delivery, bank transfer, or check, then it requires you to reconcile with the system to say that, all right, this person has actually completed payment, so let's ship this good, or let's close this sale to say that it is complete, stuff like that. As opposed to credit cards, with credit cards, all of that process is done at the same time. So that's the main difference really between credit cards and the other methods, the ability to close a sale immediately, because somebody can order your product and you have to chase them for your money thereafter, right? Which oftentimes cuts into your time. For us as entrepreneurs, we want to spend majority of our time providing the value that we set out to provide, which includes normally, making our products and providing them. The less time we can spend on administrative things is better for us as business persons, right? So these are the main things to consider. Also, as well, for your credit card payment options, you have to consider that there are fees to consider. as part of that sale. There's a cost associated to every single transaction that is collected by a credit card. So whether it is that you use um, PayPal or otherwise, or other payment methods, a local bank, Stripe, whomever it is, they all have their own fee. So I'll give an example. When you're selling a product in Jamaica using PayPal, PayPal will typically charge 5.4% of whatever the value of the product is, plus 30 cents as their transaction fee. What some persons will do is they will just eat that cost as part of their operational cost. Some persons will just mark up their products by that amount to ensure that they are covering their bases where those fees are concerned. I'll give another example of a local provider like NCB, who now has who offers merchant services via e-commerce as well, and their rates are at about 4.5% plus I think 25 cents USD per transaction. And again, it's the same right across the board. Different companies or different providers have different rates, and it's not something that you can get away from per se. Yes, you have some who are cheaper. Like we use Stripe a lot here because we actually have a partnership with Stripe that enables us to set up any amount of customers with merchant services to collect payments online. For persons in the US, Stripe is as low as 2.9%. For persons in Jamaica, it's 3.5%. You know, but you can't get away from this now. On the matter of credit card payment options, one of the reasons why I'd ask you guys to drop your countries in the chat is because at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur operating in the Caribbean, your location sometimes can work at a disadvantage for you, being that yes, there are these well-known payment processors who support different countries and so forth. It's important to understand what resources are available in your country. So I'll give you guys a run through of, based on our experience, what are some of the resources that you can tap into based on your geographical location, or what are some of the things to look for when you're searching for payment options for your industry, your country. Keep in mind as well that all credit card payment processors have industries that they prefer to work with and also industries that they do not want to work with. So typically, a lot of them will have a prohibited list of products or industries that they do not support. And a lot of this is geared towards weeding out illegal activities, unethical activities, or just avoiding industries or products that have high return rates, high chargeback rates, high dispute rates because of the expense that comes with that type of undertaking, So when you are looking at setting up your business online and collecting payments using credit cards, then you need to consider out which industry am I in, what product do I sell, does my payment gateway, ideally payment gateway, support that particular product or my industry well. Also, based on my country, which payment service providers support me the best in my current physical location. Remember, guys, you can collect the payments online and still cannot access the funds. PayPal is one example that a lot of persons are having major challenges with. You will integrate PayPal payments on your website, collect payments using PayPal. You see all the authorization. The customer's credit card has been debited and the monies are in your PayPal wallet. But because you're in Jamaica, it is very difficult for you to access those PayPal funds. Why? Because PayPal does not integrate directly with any Jamaican bank. The only way for you to get your money from PayPal is to actually request a check from them, which they will mail to you. When they mail that check to you, that check will take about 2 weeks to be generated and sent out. And then when it gets here, now I say 2 weeks, I mean that's actually I'll tell, let's say 2 to 4 weeks to be generated and sent out. And then when it lands in Jamaica or in your respective Caribbean country, it takes another 30 days to clear an international check. That's a stipulation by the banks. 30 days to clear international checks. So you find that when PayPal users in Jamaica or countries that are not supported directly by PayPal use PayPal to collect their payments, they sometimes have cash flow issues, accessing the monies in a timely manner so they can pay their bills, pay their staff, and run their business efficiently. But that is for Jamaica. There are many, many Caribbean countries, and I need to check if Suriname is also on that list. But there are many Caribbean countries that support PayPal directly. Barbados, I know, is one of them because we're actually working with a company in Barbados right now who is actually in the fashion industry, selling beauty supplies. And they are intending to actually integrate all of their systems with PayPal. St. Lucia is another example, another customer that I'm working with currently as well to set up to sell eyewear online for prescription glasses. And they will be using PayPal as well. Why? Because PayPal supports direct integration with banks in those countries. A lot of time person will ask Leighton, how is it that PayPal supports these Caribbean countries and not Jamaica? I mean, there are many answers to that question, but one of my main answers to that is generally fraud. Jamaica has a very high fraud rate when it comes to credit cards and handling those types of things. That has caused a lot of financial service providers who would typically offer these services to countries in the Caribbean to actually, not offer it to Jamaica. I'll give an example. Other payment service providers that exist in this space include persons like Stripe. Stripe does not provide payment services directly to Caribbean countries. However, through partners like myself, they're able to leverage us and have us sign up customers. They do support, however, our local currencies. So one of the questions that persons will ask all the time is, Leighton, PayPal versus Stripe, which one do you prefer and why? And I would say, boy, for me, it's Stripe because, of course, through us, you're able to get that Stripe facility. But more so, you're able to charge your prices in your local currency. So, for example, when you list your prices on your website, some customers don't like to see the US dollar, as the currency on their website. They just feel automatically like because you're pricing in the US, your price is higher than what they could get it for. Also, they are mindful of the fact that the US dollar in the Jamaican context is sliding very rapidly or fluctuating very rapidly. So because of that, they're not quite sure what the final charge will be on their credit card. When you use a payment processor that supports the currency of your country, then when a customer checks out of your online store, they are able to actually see the transaction amount that was listed in your store on their credit card statement. That is extremely important. Why? Because let's say, for example, I have a credit card with $100,000 limit, JMD limit on it, and I have $95,000 spent, which means I have $5,000 only left on my card. If I see a product for, let's say, for instance, let's see, what's the conversion for US? That would be, let's use 100 to 1 for argument's sake, or 105 to 1. Let's say, for example, that would have been, that would be what, $50 on PayPal, sorry, in USD. Let's say, for instance, you had charged 50 USD for this product, and I have $5,000. Dependent on the exchange rate that is applied by the payment processor, because these payment processors also have their own rates. They're not going to be using the bank rate that you get at your local bank. They have their own rates, and sometimes persons like PayPal put a spread of as much as $7 on their conversion rate. So when you now think that, all right, I have this 5,000 available on my card and I can make the payment, when you go to checkout, then you find out that, hey, you don't have enough money on your card. However, if your pricing was in the local currency that the customer's card is in, then the exact amount would be charged to the customer's card, and the customer is able to have a better experience with that entire process. So some of the payment service providers, international payment service providers, that support Caribbean countries include PayPal, and there's another one called 2Checkout that we normally refer to our customers. 2Checkout also works with many Caribbean countries, not Jamaica again, for similar reasons. 2Checkout did support Jamaica directly in 2015, 2016, thereabout. However, they have pulled out since then. And I suspect it would be for similar reasons. Also, the next thing to consider on the matter of payment collection, and I'm spending a bit of time on this particular area because it's a major point that persons tend to ask a lot of questions on. Next thing to consider is, for example, in Jamaica, there are up to 5 local payment service providers. There is NCB, Sagicor, CIBC, First Global, and Scotiabank. But why would persons not prefer to work with their local banks and still work with these international service providers? One, ease of integration is far easier. So you find that the cost to integrate the payment gateway into your website, into your accounting system, into whatever solution you're using to sell your product or service is far cheaper. There are also no monthly fees that come with PayPal or Stripe or 2Checkout, as opposed to the local banks that typically have a minimum monthly fee of 30 to 40 US per month. Also, when it comes to creating an account with PayPal, Stripe, or 2Checkout, there's no cost to create an account with these guys. To create an e-commerce account with any local bank in Jamaica requires a minimum investment of at least 500 US dollars just to create the e-commerce account for you. So for these reasons, especially for persons who want to tiptoe into e-commerce, they oftentimes prefer to work with an international service provider in payments and validate what works, what percentage of their customers are actually using credit card payments to make purchases versus how many persons are using other payment methods to use purchases. And this is also one of the main reasons why I encourage persons to have as many payment options as possible, because for some persons, credit card may not be the ideal thing for you online, or it may not be the ideal thing based on your business context, your location, your industry, and so forth. So these are some of the things that you definitely need to consider. And as I said, generally when we're structuring an e-commerce approach, one of the early things that we tend to tackle is trying to figure out, all right, how is it that the customer is going to get their money in their hands? Not how they're going to charge a customer's card. There are many ways to do that, but how are they going to get the cash in their hands? And this is extremely important when you're considering going into this space. Now, after you have collected payment, the next thing that you need to look at is, how is it that you're going to fulfill the order? How is the customer going to get what they paid for? In some instances, persons may offer curbside pickup or in-store pickup. Since COVID, we've been hearing the term curbside pickup a lot more, because supermarkets, pharmacies, a lot of those are offering those types of pickup options to prevent persons from having to physically come inside the branch or inside the store to pick up. Then there's also the option to deliver or drop ship. As I mentioned earlier, the concept of drop shipping is where you don't store the actual product you're selling. You don't buy it or invest in the stock. You only buy it when your customers buy from you. Beautiful thing I love about drop shipping, that it allows you to test what works before investing in it. So, and I do the same thing as well. Even when I'm selling mobile edges solutions, I am the creator of all of our technologies that we build, and also the person who is responsible for deciding what solutions we integrate from third-party providers. And the ability to put a product out into the market for sale that either has not yet been made or not, or I don't have to physically have on hand, is a benefit that allows me to research and see what works before I invest. So I always encourage persons to consider your dropshipping options if you can afford to, if it works for you. But of course, standard delivery is always there. Let me actually spend a little bit of time on delivery as well, because when you're considering delivery is normally added, delivery costs are normally added to your checkout process. Again, going back to Amazon, if you purchase on Amazon a lot, then you will notice that in some instances you can get free delivery if you want, if you're able to wait on a stipulated time, or you can actually pay for delivery if you want to get it faster. In the Caribbean context, our delivery rates are oftentimes not based on time of delivery, but more so the distance that the product needs to travel. So for argument's sake, when we're setting up delivery options in systems for our Jamaican businesses, our Caribbean businesses, those who have countries of a certain size, we tend to recommend to persons that offer different shipping rates for customers based on their location. So for example, a company that has a business in Kingston or in whichever parish that they're in, I would say offer a parish rate, call that round town delivery or local delivery. And generally you will have bearer services being offered within your particular parish at a fairly affordable rate, you know. And generally in Jamaica, for example, or if I should quote in the US, generally to do a round town delivery wouldn't cost more than $5, 500, 600 Jamaican dollars thereabout. However, to get a product from one end of the island to the next, you may need to use a different delivery option, something like Northford Express. Um, what's that other one again? That's Tara Couriers as another example. And in your respective Caribbean countries, if you do have active delivery services, then you can consider that, because again, delivering the product oftentimes depends on how far it is going, you know. So consider that as well. So when you're having your delivery options, set up your delivery based on how your customers will typically buy from you, you know. There are customers who are in Kingston who may even be next door, very near to the person that you're buying from, and still prefer to have delivery. Now you can't charge somebody who is nearby the same rate as you would charge somebody who is way in Timbuktu. You understand? So you have to consider these things when you're building out your delivery model, what that costing will look like, what will it cost you to provide a delivery to your customers, and so forth. Restaurant delivery is one example that I use all the time. I mean, I may be home, maybe raining, and I just can't bother go out there in the rain and so forth to get the food. And I may prefer to have them deliver it to me, you know. And if they charge me the general rate of doing a Kingston delivery as opposed to offering me something because I'm just next door, then I'll be more inclined to actually take that delivery service from them, because they're catering to my need, my specific need at that point in time. So consider your customers, consider where they are, consider the geographical area that you're delivering to when you are making these decisions. And of course, for persons like your graphic designers, persons who create what we call virtual products, products that are not physical, then we recommend that persons use the download option for those instances. So let's say, for instance, a graphic designer or a photographer, or a creative person who creates digital products. They have their products up online for sale. They take a picture of it or a representation of that product and have it online. Then when persons have completed, and not only physical product, but even for instance an ebook. Let's use a book for example. What you can do is to actually have a downloadable link being embedded into your purchasing or your checkout process, so that once the order is marked as paid for, and automatically the customer is given a downloadable link so that they can click on that link and download. And with that process, the sales process is very seamless. Customer goes online, orders the product, decides to pay for it. Once they pay, automatically they're able to download it. You don't even need to get into that sales process unless it is that the customer chooses an offline delivery method for payment for that particular product. At which point in time, of course, you would typically need to go into whatever system and mark the product as being paid so that the customer can then go ahead and download. But these are things that you can streamline as part of that entire process, right? And again, just quickly showing you what this looks like in a system setup. As I mentioned, you have local pickup, which allows persons to pick up items themselves. Then you can have a flat rate delivery for round town deliveries at a cheap rate. And then of course you can have like all island delivery, all country delivery for those who live on mainlands, for persons to be able to get access to your products and services. At the end of the day, for physical delivery of products, it really comes down to the delivery resources that you have available to you, whether it is that you have your own delivery vehicles and drivers, or you're contracting a third party to do it. At the end of the day, it's all about covering back that cost to ensure that your customer is able to get the products in a very seamless manner. And I think we're pretty much at our halfway mark. I think we could take a break now, but before we take that break, let's actually see if there are any questions or any inputs that you guys want to actually make at this point in time based on the things that we just covered.
Yeah, so we actually do have a few comments and some questions. I know we're well into our break time, but let's see if we can get through them very quickly, because some of these questions actually speak to some of the stuff you've covered or was covering. So you may very well find that you've answered some already. So Roy says you can create a Payoneer account and receive a clear payment. Receive and clear payments from PayPal or even bypass PayPal. So he thinks that the Payoneer is a good option to receive payments.
All right.
The only problem he says is that your local bank may charge too much for the money that you receive in your account because they consider it an international wire transfer.
Right. So stick a pin right there. All right. So Payoneer is definitely a good option to work with. However, it is important to understand what Payoneer is and the difference between Payoneer and a payment gateway. With Payoneer, all right, so let's use an example of PayPal. PayPal offers a combination of two services in one. It offers a payment gateway that allows you to charge credit cards at the point of checkout, and also offers a mobile wallet solution so that persons can store those funds on an online account for withdrawal later on. Payoneer is actually the latter. Payoneer is a mobile wallet solution that allows you to hold funds that have been collected online, or actually to collect funds online from persons who are sending monies to you. So what persons will do oftentimes is to pair Payoneer with 2Checkout, pair Payoneer with Stripe, because Stripe and 2Checkout only offer payment gateway services, and you would have to connect a bank, oftentimes a US bank or a local bank that works with those payment gateways, to actually store the funds. So with Payoneer is compatible with 2Checkout as well as with Stripe. In recent times, I learned that Payoneer was discontinued from PayPal, so you're actually not able, based on my geographical location, a person that I've been interacting with across the Caribbean, I've not seen where Payoneer is actually able to integrate with PayPal anymore. I think it used to be, but it has been discontinued because, of course, it competes directly with PayPal. PayPal wants to keep as much of their monies in-house as possible. But Payoneer is definitely one of those solutions that you can pair with your payment gateway to access the funds. And he is right that there are some costs associated with accessing the funds. There are two ways generally to access your funds from Payoneer. There is the ability to actually swipe. The Payoneer will issue a card. I think it's a MasterCard, because I actually have a copy of one that I got a very long time ago, and I'm trying to find it so I can show it to you guys. Here it is. This is my Payoneer card that I got from about 2015. I've actually never used it, but I had signed up for it and was about to actually start leveraging that service. And the costs are something, I think if you use it at the car machine, it's somewhere about 4% of whatever you're transferring. But I think if you connect it, because one of the things as well is that PayPal does, sorry, Payoneer does support connection to our local accounts like Jamaican accounts and so forth. So persons will oftentimes route their money through Payoneer to the local banks. And I think if you connect online, it may be a little bit cheaper, maybe about 2 to 3%. So what oftentimes persons need to look at is what is the total cost for collecting that payment online between the payment gateway and between the support system that allow you to get the funds into your account. In some instances, works out to 8, 9, 10%. I've seen instances where persons pay up to 15% to access their funds thereafter. So it really comes down to what works for you. But he is right. That solution is available. It just comes down to if it will work for you or not. All right, so we can move on to the next question.
All right, great. So I believe you've said you've adequately covered the bit on Payoneer. So Ingrid, that question, she had a question around talking about Payoneer as a means of collection, but you would have covered that. Do you think, this is from Alicia, do you therefore recommend Stripe to be used with WordPress websites?
Almost definitely. Actually, we recommend Stripe once it is that you are able to connect it. I mean, in Jamaica, there's a mobile edge support. I think it's the only company currently in Jamaica and potentially the Caribbean that does support that type of service to collect payments with Stripe. So if you're in a country that supports that payment, especially if you're in the US, then that's a perfect tool. WordPress again is a tool that integrates well, and Stripe, because Stripe and PayPal are such big and powerful payment processors. What you will find is that they have an integration for every single platform. So even persons who are on Shopify can use Stripe to collect payments. I remember I had a customer who is a Jamaican, lives in Cayman, but had a registered business in Canada. Many addresses. And we had to use Stripe for her to actually set up her systems, and she had actually registered her Stripe account from the Canadian counterpart, and it's a very seamless process. Stripe also offers one of the other reasons why we do recommend Stripe on WordPress and Shopify is because the checkout flow is seamless. And what do I mean by this? When you use PayPal on these platforms to check out, oftentimes, most times, you have to create a PayPal account as part of that checkout flow, which then gives the customer an extra step which frustrates them. We have found a way to avoid that entire checkout flow, but we have not actually, well, on WordPress, but we have not found a way to avoid that checkout flow on Shopify as yet, because again of the limited functionalities that Shopify offer. So yes, WordPress is definitely recommended for these types of interactions, and Stripe, PayPal, and any top, there are other payment processors that are used in the US and so forth. These two offer many integrations that are plug and play for WordPress, Shopify, and these popular platforms as well. So yes, we definitely do recommend using Stripe with WordPress, and that is actually our preference, our preferred combination to work with.
Okay, so Joan wants to know, in the payment section you mentioned, when you spoke about Western Union and MoneyGram, she's asking you to remind her what you recommended regarding personal checks.
In terms of personal checks, the recommendation, again, it comes down to your industry, the business that you're in. Now, when it comes to checks, think about it again. Who normally pays via check? Oftentimes, yes, you do have some individuals who have checking accounts, but it's not very popular in Jamaica. And in the US and first world countries, that's a standard thing. A lot of persons will work with their checkbooks to do major transactions. But for consumer-based businesses, oftentimes persons won't pay by check. So if it is that you're in the B2B space where a person will pay by check or bank transfer, then you definitely want to have that as an option if it is that payment option suits you. But typically, as I say, as part of that setup, it is really a payment instruction that you're sending to the customer, because you can't collect a check payment online per se. What you're doing is you're saying to the person at the point of checkout that, if you're going to select check as a payment option, then you need to indicate, who is the check being made out to, and what is the delivery method of the check, as like where should the check be dropped off. Give them your business location, maybe the person who you should ask for, stuff like that. You mentioned Western Union MoneyGram. I did have that example up on the screen, and again, it was used for that same fitness expert who actually wanted to start doing Zoom fitness trainings long before Corona. Again, because he was a one-man show, was trying to figure out, instead of driving to Montego Bay, how can I support a customer in Mobile, or even a customer in the Caribbean or in the Americas? And Western Union was one of the options that came up. And it's the same thing again. Bank transfer, checks, Western Union, all these offline payment methods. What you're really doing is sending the customer payment instruction with the payment to make. So I guess in the case of a Western Union, you're going to let them know who you're going to make the payment out to and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what would be required to set up something like that.
Okay, so Ingrid, well, let me take Alicia's question first. How much would it cost to have Mobile Edge integrate Stripe with your website?
Funny enough, our cost for integration is extremely cheap. Sometimes I think it may be too cheap, but it's just $100 to do the integration. If we do it for you, so that we try to make it very affordable. Again, it's plug and play, so it's not difficult. It's just really to compensate for the time that it will take to onboard the customer and set up. Because again, we are able to set up the customers under our account, so there's some amount of work around that. But in terms of the process, it's not a difficult one. It's 100 US to set up, and 15 US per month to support it. And setup is normally done within 72 hours upon payment.
Okay, great. Just a comment here from Ingrid. So WordPress to Stripe to any Jamaican bank account, seamless for customers anywhere in the world.
Correct,
All right.
correct. So it does. One of the questions that customers always ask me as well is, so Leighton, when I set up a local payment gateway, or I set up an international payment gateway, does this allow me to collect credit card payments from customers wherever they are? If is a customer in Africa barred from making a purchase on the system? Is it only local person who can purchase? The answer is anybody in the world can make a payment to your platform using these facilities, once it is that the issuer of the card, which means the bank that gives the card, gives the ability to do these types of transactions. So let's say, for instance, I know that there are cases where the bank, out of being prudent about fraud and protecting the customer, may put blockades on cards based on the card activity where it is used. So I remember traveling some time ago, I didn't alert my bank in time about my plans to travel, and when I was in that country, I was not able to make a payment online and so forth. So there are these instances where a bank may put procedures in place to protect the customers, especially if it is that the customer is transactional activity does not normally reflect that type of thing. But once your bank gives you a card that enables you to make purchases from anywhere, then the systems that we give you authorize same. Keep in mind as well, guys, that the banks are the ones who authorize the transactions to be completed at the point of purchase. So if it is that you are having an issue with a customer making a purchase on your website, 9 times out of 10 it is not anything to do with your website infrastructure, but more so the person's banks and the setup that they have on their card and so forth.
Okay. All right. So those are the questions in the chat. We have about 4 or 5 in the Q&A. So I'm heading over to that section now. First one is from an anonymous attendee who wants to know if you can I design a website in Adobe and post it on WordPress? You might have answered that already.
Well, no. In terms of designing, so Adobe is a design tool. What persons will do is to design the website. So for instance, even right now, I have one of my customers who have designed their own look and feel, because especially in the case where we're working with graphic designers, a graphic designer, I'm sure that this question is coming from a graphic designer. Graphic designers will typically want to control the look and feel of their final product. So they will design the look and feel in Adobe. What we would typically do in a case like that is to actually take the design elements that were created in that graphic design and represent it on the website. So yes, we can convert per se a graphic design into a website, or take a graphic design and represent it on your website. But it's not that, you know, we're going to turn a graphic design or something from Photoshop into a website. It's more representing what you have given to us by taking the design elements from that design and represent it on the website. Also keep in mind, guys, one of the key things that you talk about website that we must keep in mind, which is an absolute must, is that, guys, your design must be mobile friendly. At least 75% of your traffic to your website or whichever e-commerce solution you implement in your business will attract mobile traffic, mobile users on that website. So even for instance, though you may have a graphic design that is designed for a desktop view, we will still need to build the website in a way that allows the website to collapse into that single scroll view in a very seamless way. So sometimes you will not be able to bring across all the design elements of a desktop built website over to the mobile, simply because, you know, the screen just does not have that space or the same dimensions. As you will notice, desktop website has a very wide screen as opposed to a mobile view has a very long screen. You know, so these are some of the things we have to consider, but definitely it can be done.
Okay.
And we
So
have
Daniel,
done it as well.
right. So Daniel reminded me there that I missed her question in the chat. So I'm going to quickly jump back over. What about WePay?
We
Can you
pay.
explain drop shipping some more as well? And is
All right.
this
So
such a class?
WePay is a new entrant into the market. I know they are from Trinidad, just about entering Jamaica. I think they're still testing in sandbox mode at the moment. So they have not fully rolled out. I don't know any company right now who is using WePay to do their transaction, but I know they're coming soon. And for us as Mobile Edge, you know, what we do is that, as although we partner with Stripe, and I was explaining the same to somebody else, as much as we partner with Stripe, for us, the key is to enable e-commerce. So it doesn't really matter which payment gateway the customer comes with. Once the payment gateway is supported in the market that it is intended to operate, then it can be integrated with any solution. In some cases like Stripe and PayPal, there are plug and play solutions that allow us to integrate fast and cheap. There are custom solutions like the local banks, and I think WePay does have a WordPress integration already as well, so it should make the integration process pretty seamless. But of course, you would have to sign up with them and get the accounts. Once you're able to sign up with them and get the accounts, then definitely any website developer who is experienced with building out e-commerce systems should be able to do the integration on the website. In the case of drop shipping, just to expound a little bit. So the concept of drop shipping is this. And I actually want to flip it around for the purpose of your own context as creatives. Now, as creatives, oftentimes you're not looking to drop ship somebody else's product. Probably you'd prefer for somebody to drop ship your product. And the concept behind it is that you can go out there and make arrangements with persons who are interested in selling what you have to offer, and say to them that, hey, here's a picture of this painting, or of this statue, or of this whatever it is that you make, this jewelry. Post it on your website, mark up my products. I'm going to sell it to you for $50. You can double my price and sell it for $100 on your website. And whenever you get an order for the product, I will ship it out to your customers. All you need to do is just pay me first and give me your customer shipping address, and I will ship it out for you. Some drop shippers even go as far as to include the customer's information on the product packaging. So it seems as if it is coming directly from the customers. So as a creative, this is one revenue source that you can tap into to expand your reach by simply leveraging the network of other persons who have their markets and is able to sell your products, to be able to actually sell them. So an example of this would be craft in Jamaica. Craft in Jamaica is wanted anywhere in the world pretty much. I've had persons from overseas come to me to ask me to look at helping them to structure a potential online business to sell craft in those markets. And it would be the same concept where they would get a picture of that craft item. And actually I know of somebody in Jamaica who is amongst the top Amazon sellers in the world, in the top 25% Amazon sellers in the world, who sell craft items to persons in the US and Amazon. And what that person does is to go around and build relationships with the craft vendors, take a picture of what they make, put it online, make an arrangement with the creator of that product to say that, hey, whenever I get orders, I need you to produce this product within X number of days. It's up to you as the creative to determine whether or not you want to build these and put them down for fulfillment, or if it is that you can create a product within a very short period of time, then you can have that created and sent to the customer at the point of them purchasing from you. So drop shipping can be used in two ways. It can be used as a retailer who wants to sell products without investing in them, or you as a creator can employ drop shipping methods to get your products out to more customers and allow an easy way for the reseller to request and pay for those products from you and fulfill the orders.
Okay, great. So Judith has a question here. What do you think about Etsy as a site where creatives can do business?
Could you just repeat that?
What do you think about Etsy
Oh,
as a
Etsy.
site where Etsy?
Yes, definitely. One of the things I do encourage persons to do when they are looking at selling is online selling, is that online selling works well in niches. Niche marketing works very well for online. Why? Because think about it. When I want to get my teeth clean, I go to a dentist. I don't go to the doctor. You understand? Or if it is that I want to get an x-ray done, I'm going to go to an imaging place. I'm not going to go to the general hospital unless it is that there's a department that specializes in that. And I say this to say that typically persons like to purchase products online from sources that specialize in producing these types of products. Etsy is a marketplace for handmade products. So if you are in the business of making handmade products, then definitely Etsy is a place that you want to sell your products. Why too as well, I find is that Etsy actually caters to the price point that a handmade product would typically sell at. If you put a handmade product on Amazon, that is competing with generic machine-made products, your product is going to automatically look expensive compared to the Amazon product that may be a lookalike or something similar. Person's going to be looking at, all right, so there are 1,000 products on Amazon. Why am I going to buy your product for $100 when I can get that for $25? Remember, they are not seeing the fine details in your artwork and so forth until you're able to touch and feel it. So Etsy is definitely a space for creatives. I think it's one that person should tap into. One of the key things to bear in mind when it comes to these marketplaces in the US is that a lot of them require you to actually have US credentials to sign up. So maybe you need to have a US credit card or a US address because they are catering directly to that market. So you need to first figure out if it is that you can sell on Etsy from your physical location. I remember, again, going to a conference and hearing that same Amazon seller selling, and I was like, man, I've been having these ideas about selling stuff online for a very long time. Maybe it's something I could tap into. But when I actually went on Amazon trying to sign up as a Jamaican, it would not permit me. So what I would have had to do is to maybe leverage relationships with a friend or family overseas to get the accounts in place, which persons can do it. But however, it just means that you would need to trust that individual if you're going to do something like that. But I know that as Caribbean people, we do have a lot of diaspora persons in these markets that we are very close to, that we can leverage these relationships with to get some headways in these areas. And this is one of the reasons why, for instance, Mobile Edge, although we're a Jamaican-based company, we are also registered in the US so that we can take advantage of these opportunities. So a lot of companies um, in the Caribbean are going that route as well, where you're able to actually set up a US-based business so that you can take advantage of whether it be US banking facilities, e-commerce facilities, or just everything that comes with having a US presence. There are some tools that you can check out. One of them is My USA Corporation. I'll repeat that. My My USA Corporation. Um, with them, you're able to actually set up a US business for I think about 750 US one-time fee, and they're actually able to give you a mailing address. I think for only 90 US. They can help you to file taxes and so forth. Of course, they will recommend a tax-free state that allows you to not pay any taxes as long as you're not doing business in that state. You can take advantage of that. So, for instance, me as a Jamaican company selling to Jamaican persons, have a company set up in Delaware, and only paying $90 per year to file taxes, just to say that hey, there were no sales to any customers in Delaware. But of course, guys, I'm not an accountant nor a lawyer, so I would not recommend that you take legal or accounting advice from me. Please consult with your respective parties. I'm just sharing information that have passed my way as part of the engagement. But definitely, I would recommend Etsy to anybody who makes handmade products.
Okay. Roy is asking, what about Zoom? I always hear that they can be used to get money from PayPal. Is that true, and how does it work?
Right. So Zoom is actually again, we as Mobile Edge, I have gone around the world and back to Jamaica to try to figure out, what are the best ways to go about, um, you know, helping persons to tap into this e-commerce potential. And Zoom is actually one of the tools that we encountered that is very favorable to entrepreneurs for getting monies into Jamaica. Now, Zoom is a PayPal-based service, but it does not actually allow you to transfer PayPal credits to Zoom. What Zoom is really is a money transfer service that competes with MoneyGram, Western Union. And the difference between it really is that it allows you to connect to a US bank account and transfer monies from your bank account out to a Jamaican account at a very affordable rate. I think Western Union charges anywhere from $12 to $14 per transfer. Zoom's fees is just $5. So imagine you are collecting credit card payments in a US account and allow it to build up there, let's say to $1,000. Then you could transfer out that 1,000 US to your Jamaican account um, using Zoom and only pay $5 US. The only drawback to Zoom is that Zoom does not support company accounts. It's a transfer service that allows you to send money to personal accounts. But of course, as entrepreneurs, we tend to oftentimes use our personal accounts for business usage, or sometimes we also, if you have like a trainers business in your name. So I'm Leighton Campbell and I have a business called Leighton Campbell and my bank accounts are called Leighton Campbell. Then I could use Zoom to actually transfer money from the US to my bank account to access the funds easily. And that is a money transfer service that we've actually recommended to persons who have gone that extra mile to set up US businesses so that they can collect their funds in their US accounts and give them an easy way to access the funds thereafter. Because at the end of the day, it really comes down to access the funds that will make this thing work. So Zoom is definitely one of those tools that we recommend. However, the only limitation there, the benefit is cost. Transfer time is very fast because even local credit unions use Zoom to transfer monies to your local accounts whenever they are paying out to you as well. So it's a very robust and good system. It's just that it does not support company accounts, company bank accounts.
Okay, great. So Lisa wants to know, as a provider for Stripe, can you serve a company that is in the Bahamas, or do you have to find someone in your own country?
All right, so the only trick for us, where Stripe is concerned and servicing a company in the Bahamas, is actually getting the funds out to the customer. Yes, it can be done. It's just that we would have to use maybe a wire transfer method to get the funds over. So what customers will do oftentimes to circumvent these wire transfer or these money transfer charges is to actually allow the monies to build up to a particular point. So it really comes down to your tolerance to your cash flow tolerance, and also what percentage of your customers are doing credit card transactions. But that's definitely a conversation that we can take off here to understand your makeup and what works best for you, so that we can either propose an ideal solution that we offer or recommend one, even if it's not offered by us. Of course, if you want to reach me, just a quick note, you can visit our website, and once you click on that pricing button, it will ask you for some basic information, and then we will reach out to make contact and have a consultation with you to figure out what's the best option for you. The website is getmobileedge.com. I repeat, getmobileedge.com, for anybody who is interested in booking a free consultation to figure out how they can really tap into these resources.
Okay, great. So Leighton, I think this is a great time to take a break.
Sure.
Yes.
Awesome. So let's actually finish the last third of this conversation, which we will be able to wrap up within 30 minutes, which is really talking about automating the business. So you have figured out what your business model will be, and also what systems you will use. The next thing now comes down to management of such business. And one of the benefits about running an online business that you're able to automate part or almost all of it, dependent on, again, your industry, the product that you sell, and your resources that you have available at your location, right? So let's talk about automating that business. As I mentioned before, one of the key things to first understand about automating a business is the customer's journey. What is the customer's path to sale? What steps need to be taken um, for the average sale to occur? And what elements of it can be done without human interaction? So, for instance, when I think about a jewelry seller, a motor vehicle specialist, a yeah, anybody who sells a physical product, you're able to automate as far as the purchasing process without anybody being involved. Somebody can land on your website, they can review the products that you have to offer, they can select the ones that works best for them, complete the purchase. But at some point in time in that process, somebody needs to actually fulfill that order. The product won't get up and walk to the customer themselves. So at that point in time, somebody needs to fulfill the order. However, as I said, we can automate as much around that, which includes communicating with that individual that, hey, an order has been made and is awaiting your action for fulfillment. And you can even automate any communications to the customer thereafter around maybe getting feedback, um, providing ratings, anything else that is communication driven. But the actual sending out of the product would have to be done manually. Now, in the case of a graphic designer or somebody who provides a service to the customer, or provides like an ebook, a digital downloadable product to the customer, then definitely digital downloads can be fully automated without anybody getting involved in that process if the person uses the credit card payment option. Again, if persons use manual payment options, then you'll have to consider going into the system and marking this product as being paid for so that you can fulfill. So there are different degrees to which you can automate, and it comes down to what it is that you sell and so forth. In the case, again, of a service provider, the burden of the solution really, sorry, the burden of the work really comes down on you rendering the service that the customer had paid for, which again, in some instances may be able to automate, in others, maybe not so much. So understanding your digital sales funnel is very important. for optimizing that entire process. I say for Mobile Edge, we generate 95% of all leads through our website. Because of that, whenever I go anywhere, if I'm on an interview on TV, I don't tell persons where my office location is. Yes, we do have an office location, but I don't want persons visiting the office location to get information. Um, all of the information, at least to generate interest in the product, is on our website. So we drive persons to the website and then have clearly defined call to actions that come to our website. And some days we have from pretty much 5 to even 15 persons filling out those forms, expressing interest to find out about how we can help them, stuff like that. So we're able to control the process for how we interact with the customer, how we bring them through our sales process and so forth. So these are things to definitely consider when you're thinking about automation, automating your process. Now, as I mentioned, one of the key things that you definitely want to automate is e-commerce communication. So somebody made a purchase on your website. You want to be able to send them a receipt confirming that thanks for your purchase. This is what you purchased, as that this is what we captured for your purchase, and potentially even give them an idea of what the delivery timeline could be like. One of the key things.
Leighton,
Yes.
don't mean to interrupt you here, but we are getting some messages in the chat to say that persons are not hearing. Raheem, I know you're online. Can you give us a hand, please?
My mic isn't muted.
Some persons apparently are hearing and some are not.
It's strange. Let's do a mic check, guys. Are you hearing me? How is it sounding now? Is it that I sounded far? Was I dull? Were you not hearing me any at all? Are the persons who weren't hearing before hearing me now? Are you getting any feedback from the team? As it?
Okay, the response is coming in is that most persons are fine now. Alicia, are you hearing? I know you were one. Oh, she's okay now.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
All right.
I think it's good to proceed.
Okay. All right. No problem.
Sorry for that bit of interruption.
No. That's fine. That's fine. Because we want to ensure that everybody gets all of the information that we have to offer. All right. So let me just quickly repeat this section that I'm on, which is talking about e-commerce communication. So one of the key things to understand, guys, about selling online is that, and it's not only about selling online, it's just sales overall. You need two main things to be able to drive a sale. You need communication and the ability to transact the business. In terms of communication, think about you walking into a fashion store owned by anybody. Typically, I walk into a fashion store, somebody comes to me and say, "Hey sir, how can I help you today? Do you see anything that you like?" And I may point out a few things, try on some things, and then they will bring me to the cash register to cash a transaction and complete it. It's the same thing as online. Somebody comes to your website to make a purchase. They want to be able to sometimes speak to somebody. So sometimes having live chat systems on your website will enhance the throughput rate of your customers and the conversion rate of your customers who visit your website. Things like automated email confirmations are very important, because if somebody made a purchase and nobody communicated to them what is going on or what is not going on, then that becomes an issue for the customer. So it is important to note that, whenever you're setting up your e-commerce systems, you must be able to set up things like payment confirmations to showcase, orders received, receipts. So this is an example of a new order email that would have gone to an administrator to say that, hey, you have received the following order from this particular customer, outlining what the invoice looks like, order number, date of purchase, amount, payment method. Likewise, you also want to send one to the customer saying thanks for your purchase. This is what you purchase, again showing in the same table, you know. So it's important to have these types of systems because, as I say, behind any type of sale, there needs to be communication and the ability to complete the transaction. Then there's also the ability to automate your marketing. And what does this really mean? Have you ever visited a website and after visiting the website, you notice that ads are following you all around? Or have you ever visited a website and realized that you're now getting emails to your inbox? Or have you ever visited a website and subscribed to their newsletter and realize that these people won't leave you alone? It is very intentional, guys. The reality is that not everybody who visited your website will repeat a sale. However, you have spent some amount of energy or money in marketing your website to your customers. So when your customers land on your website, you want to get as much engagement out of them as possible. Whether it is they have bought from you before and you want them to buy again, or maybe they were perusing your website, found something interesting and subscribed to your mailing list but have not yet purchased. You want to nurture those leads, you know. So this is where marketing automation becomes important. And again, when you set up an online business, automation becomes a very critical part of that entire process. And why is it critical? Because at the end of the day, you set up online businesses so that you can be more efficient in your execution. Over time, you eventually only want to do the things that only you can do or only people can do. So anything that you can automate, you want to automate it, right? So keep those things in mind when you're thinking about marketing your website or your business online. And this is the main difference between why I tell persons oftentimes that, hey, it's cool to promote your stuff on Instagram and Facebook and all these social media platforms. But how can you automate the engagement with your customers? Maybe you can put a autoresponder in your chat so that when somebody messages you, you can, give them an autoresponder to let them know maybe you'll soon get back to them or something like that. But you know what I actually do with our social media platforms that we integrate with websites and so forth? We actually drive persons to the website. So in the autoresponder, we'll say, hey, thanks for reaching out to us. We may not be able to address your concern or respond to you right now. However, you can visit this link to get more information on our products and services. And right away, you're able to move a customer from our social media page onto your website, which then offers far more engagement tools to capture, convert, and remarket to your existing customers. So this is an example of a project that we worked on some time ago. This is a travel company that specializes in providing tours to persons in Jamaica. And what we did, what I encouraged the person to do was to say, hey, how about you create a resource that captures all the attractions in Jamaica, provide some information on it so that persons can use this as a resource for determining where they want to visit next. As islanders, we tend to like venturing out, adventure stuff. But oftentimes we don't know about the little secret places. So I said, capture all of that, put it in an ebook and use it as a lead magnet. So that when persons visit your website, you can actually give them something to download so they can capture their information and remarket to them. And this is how oftentimes we use these types of solutions to get into persons' inbox. Email marketing is one of the most powerful tools, especially when it comes to B2B customers. But capturing persons' emails is where it all starts. Keep in mind, guys, that there are solutions like MailChimp, which is the next one I'm moving to, that allows you to actually integrate MailChimp with that same pop-up that I showed you a while ago. So that once a customer fills out, puts in their email information into that, it is automatically sent into an email list here on MailChimp. And if you see over to the left-hand side of my screen where it says view by type, you see a section that says automations. MailChimp is one of the best solutions available in this space for email marketing. And why is this so? Because it actually gives you the facility to automate from a free account, meaning that you're able to actually set up what we call drip campaigns or automated campaigns based on customers' actions. So you can set a campaign to say that after customer or after lead has been added to this email list, send these set of emails in this sequence, in this order, on this timeline. So maybe it is that if somebody has downloaded the guide, maybe they're thinking about doing an excursion maybe within the next month, maybe within the next 2 months or so forth, or maybe within the next few weeks. You can choose to drop an email marketing offer to the customer maybe a few days after downloading or the same day after downloading the guide. Then you can choose to say, all right, 10 days later, send them this. 5 days later, take this action. And these are things that you can use to automate communication to your customers. However, of course, it first starts with collecting the customer's information. So here is where we focus on capturing first. So first, you focus on generating the lead, which is typically done through your own manual marketing, or in our case, like Mobile Edge, we invest heavily in advertising. So we advertise a lot on Google search so that when persons are searching for, let's say, for instance, SMS solution, you guys can try it, if you, especially for those in Jamaica. If you're going right now and type SMS service in Jamaica, how to collect payments online in Jamaica, I guarantee you that you will see Mobile Edge either ranking on its own at the top of the Google search, or the first few searches, or there's an ad positioning what we have to offer at the top of that search. And that is how we automate the generation of leads to our website. And that is why we are able to guarantee certain number of visits per month to our website. Sales is a numbers game, guys. Don't ever forget that. It's always about numbers. Funnel will always filter out persons, meaning that you have some persons who are interested, some persons who are just curious. You have some persons who are looking to take action right now. Sorry about that. Right? And you can use these tools to automate the generation of leads using social media and Google Ads, separate and apart from, of course, your social media posting and management and so forth. Blogging is also another tool that has been very critical for us in generating leads. And I'll give you an example about this. I mentioned a while ago collecting payments online in Jamaica. We wrote an article in 2017 about how to collect payments online in Jamaica, and I guarantee you that right now that article alone generates more than, on some days it generates even more than the actual paid ads that we run for payment collection services. And what does this mean for us? We wrote that article once, years ago, and that article alone contributes to probably at least 30 to 40% of all leads that come to the entire website. And what this has enabled us to do is to actually create a piece of content that is lodged in the internet, has been flagged as a trusted source for information on this particular type of content, so that even persons who are advertising on those keywords are even falling behind an article that was written years ago. And this is because it was written for a very niche purpose to solve a very specific problem. And over time, what you want to do is invest more in your blog and writing articles so you spend less in advertising over time, because the cost of attention is very expensive. When nobody knows you, you have to spend more to get their attention. However, when you actually write these blog articles and have persons read them and have that drive traffic to your website, it says to Google that, hey, persons are finding this information valuable. Let's show it to more persons who are searching for this type of thing. And over time, you will find that your investment of time, or if you are paying somebody to write these articles, will give you the return once you are taking the right approach, So there are a number of things that you can use to generate leads. But after the leads are generated, what persons are poor at is capturing the leads and converting them. Key way to capture is to use pop-ups, is to use lead magnets, and innovative ways that allows you to capture customers or prospects information. Of course, as I tell persons all the time, once you have somebody's email and SMS, them can't avoid you. Email is a little trickier because you have those spam filters, but SMS goes direct to phone, and the response rate for SMS is, I think, about 7 times higher than email. The delivery rate of SMS as well is at about 90. I think they said about 98% of all text messages are read within the first hour of receiving them. An email is typically read maybe the same day at best, but sometimes even days later on. So when you want to have instant communication to your customers, SMS is definitely the preferred route, and I encourage persons to always integrate SMS with their payment links, with their website links, and so forth. Because when you combine the two, you're combining commerce and communication to make the sale, and with that, you're able to reach any customer anywhere, anytime, with that type of engagement, right? So this is actually where I show you guys a snapshot of our SMS solution that we provide to customers. And this is really just a snapshot of the dashboard, highlighting some of the features on the left-hand side, which covers, running campaigns, a messaging center to actually receive opt-ins, to receive customer queries, and to manage different types of initiatives. But in essence, mobile communication is not only about SMS, email, but you have to think about advertising, in-app experiences and so forth. But at a very basic level, SMS is able to cut through. Why? Because the most basic phone comes with two functionalities at least: the ability to make a call and the ability to send a text message. So you find that even the older persons, the older demographic of persons, this method of communication works best. And I'll give an example. Back in about 20, how long ago was it? About 2012, 13, 14, thereabout. There's this company in Jamaica called High Pro Feeds. Big manufacturing company that specializes in providing agricultural products, fertilizers, and so forth to farmers. They have this yearly promotion that they run. Actually, I think it's run twice per year. I started to run twice per year when we were working with them. And typically, these enter to win promotions, they always give you some kind of wrapper or some flyer that you should drop in some box at a location. And they would have to drive around the entire country to pick up all of these drop boxes with these entries. And then they put them in this big basket and they spin the wheel and pick out one lucky winner. And with that way of running promotions, they were not able to assess what was happening in promotion until the promotion had ended. What we had helped them to do was to actually convert their entry mechanic into an SMS entry where the farmers, when they throw out the bags of feeds, like you're feeding the chickens, or maybe you're planting a field of potatoes, and you have your fertilizers and so forth that you throw out. You have some coupon codes that would normally be in those bags, telling persons, hey, text this code to this number if you want to win a 2020 Toyota Hilux, for example. Persons would text in that information would come into a system like this in real time. So what that changed for them was, one, the ability to centralize the way how they collected the information. So no more driving around the country picking up all these boxes to collect the entries. Entries were collected in real time and centrally. So that was the first thing. The second thing was that it actually helped them to build a database of farmers in Jamaica to the point where they had 1/3, after running the campaign about 2 hours at times, they had 1/3 of the national farmers population at their fingertips to run promotions. And why again this works is because the typical farmer in the ground who is planting his yam, his banana, or whatever it is that he is tending to his goats, You know, his hands are typically dirty. He's not going to be walking up and down with a smartphone. A lot of these persons are old individuals as well from these farming communities. So I found that SMS was the only way to cut through and reach these individuals. And there are many other promotions like this that we're about to run with other companies that help them to optimize the way how they connect with their customers. And this only works because of that simple fact that every single phone comes with the ability to send and receive text messages, and the SMS habits of individuals, the messaging habits of individuals are very immediate. So persons tend to take actions right away. I was even relaying to another customer this morning before our meeting about another example of Grace Kennedy. Again, for those who are outside of Jamaica, Grace Kennedy is a big manufacturing company in foods. And I remember they came to us, I think in 2012, they were about, where they were running advertisements on the JUTC buses. And for those who don't know, the JUTC bus is the government-owned bus system that runs on all the routes in the corporate area to move commuters daily. And they started to offer advertising on those buses, and they were not sure, they were not able to quantify properly how many persons were actually seeing their ads, how many persons were interacting with them. And because of this, they were not able, as in the JUTC, sorry, the advertising company who was advertising on JUTC wasn't able to quantify these things. So what they did was they actually partnered with Grace to run a promotion to give away TVs, gift baskets, and they will put these ads on, I think, 4 buses per route. And based on this, they were able to quickly generate entries into the competition far beyond what they even anticipated. And this allowed them to execute a marketing research campaign that gave them information about how many persons were entering the promotions, how many persons were seeing the ads, what time of day were persons seeing the ads most, or even what times of day persons were taking the buses most. They gave them a lot of information, and in essence, within a few weeks, I think they generated almost 100,000 unique entries into the promotion just by running a promotion like this, you know. And I'm saying this to say that again, it comes down to the fact that everybody has an SMS, has the ability to send a text message because they have a very basic, have at least a basic phone to send these messages. So keep these things in mind when you're thinking about promoting. There are many communication tools out there to help you to reach your customers, your social media, and also more direct ways. Split it in two. Think about social media as a way that you can reach a mass audience at no cost. Keep in mind the person would have to be able to be in the timeline when the feed is coming through. But with SMS and email, there's no timeline, there's no evading, it goes directly to you. And that's what you call direct marketing. And again, guys, these things can be automated. So think about that when you are running your campaigns. It's not only about, you know, just doing social media, but more so think about how it is that you can get direct to your customers. And oftentimes I recommend persons to use resources, communication resources that cost them when you're doing promotions, because in that case, you are generating a sale. Don't use SMS just to send a by the way text message about customer service, unless it is that it is very important for that particular message to be delivered. You can use an email for that, you know, but use SMS especially when you're generating a sale, because it's going to cost you. You know, there's a cost per message associated to sending out those things, you know. So think about that again when you're running your campaigns. There are multiple ways to get to your customers. And the beauty about these direct communication tools is that it works even better for your existing customers who have already been doing business with you. For new persons, maybe it is best to use your social media, your advertising, and stuff. But once you want to get directly to your existing customer base, those two options are the best options for you, right? Also, as I mentioned, as part of automating your operations, you want to centralize as best as possible. So, for instance, I heard mention of an individual who has a brick and mortar, who is on this call, who has a brick and mortar business and wants to figure out how to move your business online. one of the first challenges that you will encounter in moving a brick and mortar business online is that you now have two operations to service, but one inventory. How do you ensure that products that are in stock are reflected in both places, offline, online? You don't want to find yourself in a position where you're selling products that you don't have in stock. And that will easily happen when you have these two types of systems running, unless it's that you reserve a certain amount for online versus a certain amount for offline. Still, if there are slow online sales, you're going to want to channel the majority of those sales towards your offline component if you're getting the sale there. How do you ensure that, you know, product names, pricing, description, and inventory amounts are reflected the same in both places? It needs for you to synchronize those systems. So a quick example of that would be QuickBooks. A lot of us will use QuickBooks in our day-to-day operations to manage our businesses. So you can actually integrate QuickBooks with the same WordPress-based systems so that when a sale happens online, it's recorded in your QuickBooks, and you don't have to be managing multiple systems and be all over the place and confused. You want to centralize your systems as much as possible so that you're managing your affairs in a very efficient way. And integration is the number one way to achieve that. And that definitely helps with saving time and money. Why does it save time and money? Because without that, then you'll have to employ somebody to reconcile at least whether it's daily, weekly, monthly. But somebody will have the arduous task of checking out what is still in stock, what is not, and ensure it is reflected appropriately in the correct places. And with those human elements in play, you will be susceptible to human errors. Okay, and when you synchronize systems, then you don't have to worry about these things. For persons who are who are entrepreneurs and don't have a physical business location as yet, and just starting up, maybe with an online system, your online system can also handle all of your accounting. At least the core basic accounting features that you need, it can handle it. So you don't necessarily need to be integrating with an offline system. The offline integration is more important for those who have offline operations. Task automation is another thing that can, again, simplify your processes. A simple example of that is that having CRM systems embedded in your sales process can help to streamline your business, especially if that you manage multiple customers. As part of task automation, I'll give an example of how mobile it has taken advantage of this. So when you go on our website and fill out those contact forms, normally it will send you an email with the information, but if you have 100 persons filling out those contact forms, it's difficult to track everything via email. The first step that we took was to actually send all of those form information to a Google Sheets document that somebody can go through and review. And then eventually what we moved to was actually embed it into a CRM system, so that once somebody fills out the forms and the information comes out, it is zapped straight into a CRM system that our sales reps then go through, review. If you need to assign it to a sales rep for follow-up, then you assign. If it is that you need to call them and make notes, you call them and make notes, So it helps to reduce that process. If it is that we did not integrate, then somebody would have to comb through all of those emails, enter them manually into the CRM system, which I guarantee you like triples the time for that simple activity, which then makes that person less productive than they should be. So the key thing, guys, is that you are paying persons in your business to do things. You don't want to have them doing things that they don't need to be doing if you can automate it, right? And that's the thought process behind it at the end of the day. You want to get the most out of these individuals as possible. As such, automate what you can and allow people to do the work that cannot be automated. Risk.
Leighton,
Yes.
there's a question here from Joan. She's not too clear on the SMS bit, and her thoughts were that it is for sending messages through the phone, which it is, of course. So I don't know if there is need for a little bit more clarity.
No.
On that.
SMS system is actually sending messages from a web browser. So literally you log on to an interface, just like how you would go on to a website. You're able to upload your list of customers to that interface and send out your messages accordingly. So let's say, for instance, you have 1,000 customers and you need to send them a notification that, hey, guys, due to COVID, we will be closing early tomorrow at 12 p.m. Now, what's the best way to reach those individuals with that urgent communication? It cannot be that you expect somebody to take up the phone and call all 1,000 persons. No. If you email them based on the email habits, some of those will go to spam. Some persons won't check it. So you will have persons turning up to your location when it is closed and complaining. And that definitely impacts the customer service. With the SMS system, you're able to upload an Excel file of all that information, send it to your customers. You can even personalize that message to say, hi Leighton, hi Jackie, hi John. Remember, you're sending one message, but you're sending a personalized message to each individual with one click. And with that, you're able to reach thousands of persons within minutes with critical information. I'll give you another example. Hawkeye is one of our customers. Hawkeye is a security firm in Jamaica that provides electronic security to their customers. As part of providing that service, customers subscribe to a monthly fee. Hawkeye uses our SMS system to send text messages to their customers to remind them about making payments in a timely manner so that their service is not disconnected. Why is this important? It helps Hawkeye to manage their cash flow in an efficient manner and helps the customers to ensure that they are not inconvenienced by forgetting to pay their bills. And how they do this is to actually export an Excel file from their accounting system with the account numbers, the owed amounts, the due dates, and what we're able, I don't know if you're familiar with mail merging Word in Microsoft Word, but it's a similar function. We're actually able to put in field tags in the body of that text message that pulls out the requisite information from that Excel file and ensure that every single person on that list gets their respective message with the appropriate account number, appropriate due date, and appropriate amount to be paid to the company. And these are examples of how you can use SMS as part of that communication flow. I'll give another example. National Commercial Bank, the largest bank in Jamaica and the Caribbean, is one of the companies that we've been servicing since 2010. And we started out with SMS as well. They have been using the SMS service. You will notice right now that on any advertisement, any offline advertisement, so whether it's on TV, billboard, or print, they will put a text message call to action as the only or main way to inquire about their products and services. Why is this so? Because, and what this means, when I say a text message call to action, so you're advertising a loan, they will say, for this car loan, text the keyword dream car or my car to this number for more information. And this is at the end of the advertisement. So they've told them about the loan, they've told them about the race, they've told them about all the perks. So now they're saying, if you are interested, express interest, just text the keyword car to this number for more information. By simply doing that, they were able to optimize the way, they were able to optimize their return on investment from their advertising. Why? Because before, when they were putting phone numbers for persons to call, locations for persons to visit, when I set advertisement at sorry, at midnight while watching TV, there's nobody to call. There's no open location to visit, but I can send a text message to say, hey, I am interested by simply texting that keyword car. And then the next day, somebody would actually pick up that information and follow up with all these leads who texting card to close the deal. So because of how efficient that was, they actually migrated majority of their lead generation through SMS. That has been very instrumental for them in getting more out of their advertising. Sorry about that. So I hope that has been a little bit clearer, in how you can use SMS in your
Okay.
business.
Can you take another question,
Sure,
Lynn?
sure, sure.
All right, so this one is really a comment and then the question. This is from Ingrid. She says, excellent presentation. Thanks to both moderator and presenter. Looking forward to the replay. Thanks for that, Ingrid. Judith says she has a WordPress site for her art. The purpose is more for archiving and providing information on different types of work, but not for selling. I am now thinking it would be good to create a commercial page within that WordPress site. Do you think this is possible on WordPress? I would like to have
Yeah,
she would also like to keep the archiving function within Press.
definitely. This is one of the reasons why we recommend WordPress. See, with WordPress, you're able to start where you are and have no limit to where you can grow. So with WordPress, all we need to do is turn on the e-commerce component of your system and upload the product information on that platform so that you can then embed a shopping page on your website. It's quite possible that you may have been using the blogging feature to archive your work. What we will now do is turn on the e-commerce systems and the product features so that you can turn on commerce on your existing WordPress website. So what that means is that you would not need to rebuild your website unless it is that your website needs to be revamped. Remember, one of my first points that I made was how do you structure your e-commerce approach to generate sale? And I mentioned having a beautifully designed website that represented the business with clear call to actions. If you don't have that, then we would recommend at least redesigning maybe your home page, but you would need to do away with the entire system. All you would need to do is add the shopping page to that, and automatically you would now have the ability to turn on online sales on your system. And I'll give another example of a company, a large company that took the same exact approach that you are now taking. Actually, two. One of them is called DFL Imports, a major distributor of plasticware. So like things that when you buy salt, fish, that styrofoam packaging with the plastic that you normally get it in, or maybe you buy cheese that is cut already, not the one that sliced cheese, but the ones that are in the tin and persons cut it and so forth. They sell these types of packaging. And they had something exactly like that, where on their blog page they had products listed, and they now wanted to turn on online ordering because of COVID. Because they were already on WordPress, they already had the product information cataloged and ready, then we were able to quickly move them online. Another example is CBL, which is Celebration Brands Limited. These guys are the local distributors of Pepsi and Red Stripe products. We built their website back in about 2016, thereabouts. At that time, all they wanted to do was to list their products online. They weren't ready to start selling online as yet. Once COVID hit, they said, boy, Leighton, we need to flip that switch. And because they were already on WordPress, they already had the product information cataloged. It was now mainly about putting on pricing, turning on payment systems, and so forth. Again, they were able to move much quicker towards e-commerce. So yes, once you have a WordPress website, you are one step ahead of the game. You would not need to start necessarily from scratch. And the beautiful thing is that you'll be able to preserve the archiving that you already have in place. Jackie?
Okay, so those are the questions, Lynn.
All right, so this is actually my final slide, or rather my second to last slide, which is just highlighting some of the security risks and things that you need to consider in protecting revenue. So one of the reasons why payment gateways will have prohibited list of products and businesses because of high return rates, high chargebacks, and fraud that may be associated with certain types of industries. There are also some things that you can adapt in your business to ensure that your business is working for you. One of the things that can mash up a business is high returns. So you are online selling these goods and telling persons that, let's say for instance, use the example of a health product that says, hey, Leighton, you're now getting older and your head is balding. I want to offer you a product that promotes hair growth. And this product, for whatever reason, when I try it, I don't like it. Then I may want to return it, or I may buy it, and for whatever reason I have negative experience. I want to return it. So one of the things that you want to stay away from are products that have unsubstantiated claims, because those types of products tend to have high returns. There are also other industries that come with that. You have to be mindful of how you communicate what it is that you're selling. Also have clearly defined terms and conditions that govern refund, return rates, and so forth. Because you don't want to find yourself in the case where you've sent a product to a customer, paid for shipping, and have to refund the customer fully. You can't get back your money from the person who did the delivery, because you have done their work. So that will allow you to lose revenue whenever you get a lot of high returns. So you have to manage that and have to look out for that and put things in place. One of the things I tell persons oftentimes as well, when we're setting up your payment gateways, we like to put on the payment descriptor that the person see on the website to tell them that, hey, they made a purchase from this place. And I prefer to also recommend to them that use the name of the website so that the person recognizes it. There are times when we have our business name in one name, but the website name is in another name. And nothing is wrong with that, because people do it for strategic reasons. Mobile Edge may own many web assets for different reasons. And when somebody's purchasing maybe our SMS Connect product, they may not realize that it's Mobile Edge that is selling that product if they went to that SMS Connect page. So when persons actually are going through their credit card statements and seeing names of places that they don't recognize, they will sometimes call the bank and say, hey, I've seen a charge on my card that I did not authorize. The bank goes and investigates and awards that transaction in favor of the customer. Then you will be out of pocket 2 times. Why? Because you would have provided the service or product to the customer, which already cost you the cost of that product. And then if the bank takes back the money from you, then that's the second time that you're losing on that product. So these are some of the things that we ensure that we put in place to ensure that person are getting the most out of their execution. And these are things that you must look for, because it's beyond just technical build outs, but more so looking at how persons interact, how persons use these platforms, and the things that are triggers for them. The other thing that you need to consider for creatives who produce digital assets is the need to secure these assets. And by securing these assets, I mean that if you're selling a book that's a digital download, then you want to ensure that maybe that digital download is in a secure environment where it's not able to share. Because if it is shareable, then you are losing revenue, because instead of a person going to buy it, they're going to beg them friend, hey, just send that to me now, as opposed to going to your website to buy it. So you want to put these things in secure environments that you're securing your future revenue and protecting the assets that you have invested in. The educational sector is another one that needs the same as well, where the persons are doing these online courses. You want to ensure that when persons are interacting with the content, they are staying within a protected environment that prevents them from sharing the results with other persons to use for free. So as creatives, that's something that you must be mindful of, and anybody who is developing any digital platform for you must be talking about how they can help you to secure these types of assets, so to protect future revenue. I've had instances before persons write books and they have found their books being sold on Amazon in full, and it was not posted by them, nor are they benefiting from the revenue. So it is important to protect your assets. And overall, you want to be very mindful of the fact that there are unscrupulous persons out there who will always be looking for fraudulent ways to take advantage of persons. some of those ways includes, again, as we say, taking your content and selling it back. Um, Also, you have some persons who will take your goods and services and report to credit card report that they did not make this purchase. Amazon, I know, suffered a lot from this type of engagement in the past, where persons, especially when it comes to cell phones, they would purchase the phones on Amazon and receive the goods, then tell Amazon that, hey, I did not receive the goods, you should send it back. So they end up with two phones as opposed to one. In some instances, they would report to Amazon they did not receive the phone and they want a refund. So they got phone and money back. So these are some of the things that you need to be aware of, because these persons are out there, and unfortunately in Jamaica, I don't know what is it and why this is so, but you tend to have a lot of fraud um, being committed within the credit card space, and it's something I say that you have to be mindful of. I encourage you not to let it daunt you, because at the end of the day, every business incurs some amount of risk. The idea is that you want to ensure that you're always making more than you're losing at any point in time, and you find continuous ways to improve and weed out unscrupulous customers or persons who are looking to defraud or don't mean your business any good. On my last page, there's a free ebook that was written about a month and a half ago, out of the need to educate persons more about the e-commerce space and what it takes to successfully move your business online. So the title of this presentation, Demystifying E-commerce, is the exact title of that book, and it actually outlines 10 things that you need to know to successfully move your business online. This is a free ebook, guys, that you can take advantage of. I encourage you to visit the website and download it. It has very valuable information. I can tell you that a number of my own customers have used this to really try to figure out what approach they should take, whether it's drop shipping or otherwise, what payment methods should work for them, what are different things. It typically outlines all the things that we discussed here, but of course has it in an ebook format. So I encourage you to download it and see how it can work for you. And of course, as I mentioned before, if you guys want to understand a little bit more about the e-commerce space and how you yourself can take advantage of it within your context and your location, then you can definitely reach out to the same website to book a free consultation with us to further those discussions. At this point in time, I'd like to invite any additional questions or comments that you may have, and look to wrap up my presentation.
Okay, so we have a question here from Alicia. She's asking, do you know of an entity or an individual in Jamaica that can provide legal guidance for websites, for example, e-commerce and blogs, in terms of return and refund policy, terms and conditions, page privacy policy, page cookie policy. What information is needed for these pages, or even a template for these pages is what.
What I'd recommend for persons in Jamaica, the JBDC, Jamaica Business Development Corporation, is a very useful entity that you guys can leverage to build out different areas of your business at a very reasonable price. So JBDC has many units within it. It has technical units, legal units. Um, I think they're the best person to speak to about this type of things, so they can point you in the right direction, because they have consultants, legal consultants, that you can work with. I'll give you an example. I participated in a JBDC Accelerator program, and it has been transformational for my business, where we were able to tap into the different resources of the JBDC and leverage that to our effect. So they can look at exactly what you are doing, and they have persons who are equipped not only as lawyers, but more so persons who are au fait with these new technologies and these new solutions. I remember being introduced to legal persons as well, who could have given advice where that is concerned. I would definitely recommend that persons reach out. If you want, I can share direct contacts for a business development officer who you can speak with and can point in the right direction. And also keep in mind, guys, that when it comes to these things, a lot of these things, you don't have to start in the perfect way. There are many examples of companies out there doing in the Americas and the first world countries what you want to do, you can simply visit their website and go to their checkout page. There's always this little link at the bottom, that checkbox that you have to check to say I agree to these terms and conditions. And terms and conditions is always a clickable button that brings up that particular page. You can actually look for a company that is doing exactly what you're doing and just try to emulate what they are doing, because some of the time, these legal costs can become exorbitant, especially in the startup phase. It comes down to the resources that you have. However, as I say, you can take one of two approaches. You can choose to start with leveraging resources that are already out there, where you're taking what is already working for somebody else and reorganizing for your own use. Or of course, you can reach out to an entity like JBDC, who is there specifically to provide these resources to you at an affordable rate, right?
Okay, great. So I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat nor in Q&A. Let me just double check. Yeah, all right. So there's nothing else there. Do we have any other questions, any comments that we want to add at this point? I'll give another 30 seconds or so for persons to make their point. And if not, Leighton, at this point, I'd like to thank you very much for a very information-packed session. I know we went over time a little bit, but that's all right, because it's valuable information that I'm sure persons will be able to utilize. Just seeing a message or, oh yes, well, Judith is also adding to that. Excellent, very complex but manageable. So thank you for that information. We appreciate having you and your participation in the session this afternoon. As mentioned before, or at the start of the session, this is where we will now move into the other part of the session. We are going to solicit your responses on a feedback form, and for you to also do the quiz that is tied to this training. And I'm about to drop it in the chat. But at this point, you should be seeing the links that you will use to access the feedback form and the quiz. We will give a few minutes for persons to complete both forms, and what we'll do as well is we will start unmuting the mics to allow persons to be able to share with the facilitator and just among yourselves as well. Okay, thank you very much for that note. We're happy that you enjoyed the workshop. So
Likewise.
I'm unmuting the mics. Leighton, if you stop sharing, then your screen, then I'll be able to make some changes on my end as well. Thank you, Natasha. I'm happy that you found the information informative. What is key, guys, is that we not just take the information now, but that we're able to apply the information that was shared today. I know it's a lot, as I'd mentioned before, and I've been sharing individually with persons in the chat. There will be a copy of the recording that for this session that you will be able to access. We will send an email with information on how to access the recording. All right, I'm seeing that message, Dwayne. Let me just do a quick test to see what could be happening there. 1 second. Well, I'm testing the link and it's working from my end. I'm not sure what specifically is the challenge that you're having. And is anybody else having a challenge? I believe this is specific to the quiz.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Right, this is Glenda Rose, Leighton, Trinidad and Tobago. You know what she's speaking about? The first question, the four answers in the multiple choice seems to have a problem, number one, because what the first choice does, it re-asks the question of number one.
Okay, I see. Yes.
So I think that is what she speaking about. So I think you all need to.
I do see that. Or okay, yes, you're absolutely correct. Just a second. I may have to post a second link. One moment.
I think that is what you might have to do to avoid.
Yes.
So persons might you might have to post a second link, is right.
Yes. So there's also a question here from Judith. Leighton, are you seeing it? What kind of site is?
Yes, I just saw it a while ago, and I've heard about. I think it's Patron that they call it. I'm not sure what exactly it does. I've seen it, and I've seen it used more for photographers and stuff like that. The issue with these platforms is that oftentimes they have very limited scope. They're probably created to provide a single function of maybe listing a product or a service online for sale, but doesn't go beyond that. So when it comes to a platform that you want to build a business around, it really depends on the objective that you want to achieve for this platform. So keep in mind that you have different types of business persons. You have persons who just look at how they can hustle some money quickly, and for them a short-term quick solution may be the ideal thing for them, and nothing is wrong with that if that's what they're looking for. So I think that's where Patron and some of these out of the box marketplaces, that's the need that they fulfill. But if it's that you're looking to actually build something that is yours that you can tweak to fit your business, I don't think that would be the ideal platform. Again, I've never really interfaced with it per se to use it. I've seen it come up on social media feeds and I've clicked on it to see, hey, what's this really about? But I've never really used it much, to be honest,
Okay.
Okay. Give talks. Okay. I've seen, photographers and a few creatives I've seen use it, but I'm really not so sure about that particular one. And again, guys, when it comes to marketplaces, there's no limit to the number of marketplace or platform type solutions that you would take advantage of. So even if, let's say, for instance, you have a website for your own business, it's still good if you're able to list a product on Amazon, sell it. You're getting more eyes. With the marketplaces and these places that already have buyer traffic, the benefit of them is that you don't have to market as heavily. So you can use different types of e-commerce marketplace to complement your online execution. You don't have to rely only on any one thing per se, but you can use a mixture of resources that best suit you.
Okay.
A contact that you can reach me on, I'll share my email in the chat right now. I will also share my number. You can WhatsApp me directly on that number. So mobileedge.com, and my contact number is 80859 808.
All right, Lynn, I think that, all right, let me just repost it for everybody to be able to see it. I'll copy and reset. Okay, so there you go. That's the information for the facilitator.
Quick. Judith asked a question. She would love to get an opinion on her WordPress website. That would fall in the free consultation category. Most definitely it would. So you could visit the website which I'll just post again, and fill out that free consultation form. And once you fill it out, we will reach out and schedule an available slot for both of us to connect and have that conversation. Oh, I post this privately.
Right. So I'll move it, Leighton.
Okay, okay, okay. I just realized.
I'll move it just like I did the other one.
Yeah, I just realized.
Yeah, no problem at all. All right. So that's the website posting.
In terms of the question about protecting digital products from being free shared, is there a product plugin that you recommend that takes care of that? I can't remember it off the top of my head which tool specifically is used to do that. I remember that that same guide, the same guide that I was sharing with you guys on the tourism website, that persons could have downloaded for them to capture their emails. I remember that tool was actually protected specifically, but I don't remember off the top of my head which tool was used. But I mean, these are things that you can Google. You know, once you Google um, protect, so you could Google something like protect my documents from being shared on WordPress. You know, and I'm sure a few plugins will come up in your feed, and maybe you could probably type free plugins that do that, because not all plugins are required to pay for them. Oftentimes they will give you a free version that gives you the basic needs and then allow you to pay if you need to get more done.
I'm not sure if Joan is trying to say something there. Joan?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say something there. No?
Well, I have a question I could ask. I mean, on the area where you were talking about protection, you mentioned about we have to find different ways to protect our merchandise from, you know, like fraud, or not just fraud. Because for me, I'm designing stuff, and now I'm really worried about people taking my stuff, wearing it, and saying, you know, returning it. So I'm just right now, from hearing what you said, I'm just so confused now, because I'll be losing if people keep wearing my stuff and returning them. So I'm kind of lost right now. I don't know what to do.
Okay. In terms of, let's see, in terms of protecting returns, I mean, one of the things that you can do is from the position of your return policy. So for instance, there are some websites that will prominently place that satisfaction guaranteed. Don't like it, you can get a full refund, and place those things prominently on their website. You could put a no refund policy as part of that on your website. A lot of these risks can be managed through tactical communication. So whilst you can't stop somebody from trying to return a goods or calling the bank and saying, hey, I purchased something, I didn't get it, you can actually by prominently putting communications maybe at the top of your website, um, you know, that you do not return goods, or if it is that you have a return policy, you prominently place that. I think what a lot of companies have done, as I say, is to use communication as a tool to deter persons from trying any of these things, you know.
Okay, thanks. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And again, you may very well never ever encounter any of those instances. I know persons who never ever have those issues. Um, and actually, I've met maybe one or two persons who have had instances of that type of thing. I think it was in the hair providing hair, you know, like those bundles of hair and stuff like that. But in the general fashion space, I think most times it's just a matter of whether it fits or it doesn't fit. But I do understand your need for concern around that. But I think the key thing is just really to communicate, observe, and see what happens. The reality is that your entire stock that won't happen to your entire stock at once. It may be a one-off, two-off thing here
Right.
or there. I mean, nobody wants to lose
Exactly.
at any point in time. But you just have to try it, see what works, see what doesn't work, and evolve from that.
Thanks a lot.
I know that some banks, I know that NCB, for example, one of our local payment gateway partners, has put in some extra measures to prevent chargebacks where persons can't just come to the bank and say, hey, I did not buy this thing, because it actually, the gateway does some amount of tracking of the activity on the gateway to verify whether or not the payment was legitimately initiated. So, different payment gateways have different systems around that. And again, it really is really about trying to find the best solution that works for you within your context and your environment.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so thank you very much for that question, Joan. At this point, or well, seeing a note here from Lisa, not sure if it's a question or comment. It says you can also phase your return policy in a way that reinforces your commitment to quality. At my Beautiful Designs Co., I took great care to sketch every garment to the highest quality. On the rare occasion to be eligible for return, your item must be unused and in the same condition that you received it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good example.
Yes.
That's a good example. That is a good example.
Valuable information there. Right, so agreed. All right, at this point, I want to thank you again, Leighton, for this really, really engaging and informative session. I have no doubt that persons are leaving the session this afternoon more informed than they were before joining. So your work here would have been done. Thank you. Thanks a lot for that.
I thank you for having me. You've been a great host as well.
Thank you. And to the attendees, I say you've been a good sport. We're happy to have brought this session to you this afternoon. As mentioned earlier, there are several other courses that you can sign up for. I don't believe I mentioned them at the start. So in closing, I'm going to very quickly tell you the names of the other sessions that you can still sign up for, because we do have another full rotation that we're going to be doing. Digital marketing for creatives, social media management for creatives, protecting and benefiting from your intellectual property, project management for creatives, and managing your money. These are really good sessions. We encourage you to get over to our website and to register for one of these courses. I want to say thank you again for joining, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon and stay safe. Have a good afternoon all.
Thank you.